Chapter 13. Multiplication? A talented human indeed, yet we sense no sacred gear, it said before it went on all fours air twos. Take him, Naruto threw the child at his clone. I had to kill a talking fog. The power of the old Yukai resides in you, yet you do not bear their blood. The eerie being went on both arms, sizing up the blonde ninja. Yeah, I'm special because I'm a ninja, a shinobi, Naruto said, his eyelids turning a dark shade of orange. In the underworld, hell, a dimensional field as old as the underworld itself or even older, stood somewhere in an unknown location in the underworld. Formerly a no-man's land, an abandoned, barren and desolate place now served as a prison for the most evil creatures in the supernatural world. Back when tigers used to smoke, different species lived here in harmony before war broke out and the inhabitants fled. Two magnificent mountains stood beside each other almost like a door giving a peek of what it guarded. Black smoke filled the air, the sky was barren and had no star except for the drifting clouds. The stench of agony, despair, and evil filled the air. A red magic circle formed on the barren ground, cursed to stay forever futile, and out came Searsex Lucifer, the king of the devils. It's been ages since then, Searsex said with nostalgia, remembering when he first visited the damned place. Lord Searsex, you should have told us you were paying a visit beforehand so we could plan a welcome befitting of someone of your status. A being who looked like a cross between a pig and a goblin garbed in a tattered dark green cloak barefoot bowed before Searsex. Being Mao was good and all, but the blatant lip service to earn his favor annoyed him sometimes. Is the curator in? He questioned. Yes sir, he's in his chambers. Good. We have a lot to talk about. The cloaked being sweated nervously before it summoned a huge wyvern and they set out to the curator's chambers. On the flying wyvern, Searsex had a bird's eye view of hell. A long massive wall raced from the peak of the mountains into the distance, widening the farther it got. These walls were a combination of sealing magics engineered to keep the inmates inside the fearsome prison from escaping. Even teleportation circles were rendered useless inside the prison. It was unbreakable, perfect for detaining extremely strong beings. The ancient devils dubbed it the Purge. Searsex became lost in thought upon seeing the 5 great triangular pillars, which was undoubtedly the tallest construction the red-haired Mao had ever laid his eyes on. The pillars almost scraped the skies with their pointed tips glowing a red color, the view which was obstructed by the white clouds, closed shut, trapping whatever was in there from coming out. The creatures inside these pillars powered the very thing keeping them trapped for eternity. Hence, the glow they radiated. The 5th pillar was the root of Searsex's distress. It didn't glow the red color Searsex remembered it glowing. It is said that the pillars will turn scaly when the demons it held escaped, and right now, one of the pillars' scaly body was proof enough for Searsex to know an SS-ranked demons escaped hell. Searsex scoffed at the notion. An SS-ranked demon escaping its prison was unbelievable, but the same demon getting out of the purge was ludicrous. The curator better be ready for some serious consequences. On the first gate of the purge stood the living quarters of the head warden, the curator. The pillars holding the demons were at the 4th gate in the middle of the purge. A large group of devils mixed with other races like ogres, orcs, gargoyles, mostly hulky monsters, took care of the purge, making sure the demons never saw the light of the day. The curator was expecting Searsex, and as soon as he saw the wyvern in the distance, he straightened his back and braced himself for Searsex Lucifer's probe. Lord Searsex. The curator, a surprisingly humanoid being, greeted the great Mao. It looked fragile and its sickly green skin only helped enhance its fragile look, but it was an illusion. The curator could go toe-to-toe with an ultimate-class devil and come out victorious. Ah, curator, how are you today? I couldn't help but notice the 5th pillar wasn't glowing anymore, Searsex said, getting off the wyvern, cutting straight to the point. Lord Searsex, and the fact that it turned scaly? Searsex moved forward. A wave of potent magic filled the air. I can explain. The curator took a step back. There's always an explanation, right? Lord Searsex, how does Shirak escape its prison cell? Searsex said, pointing at the black pillar. Better yet, how'd he escape hell? You must understand, Lord Searsex, I hid a Shirok's breakout from you with valid reasons, as I didn't want to add to your plate. The curator argued. Your job was to keep those demons sealed, and not only did you fail, but you also omitted the truth from me. The curator swallowed hard, thinking before he spoke, trying to look for a valid reason. With the new alliance knocking at the door, the threat of the Chaos Brigade and the Norse gods who disagree, a loose SS-ranked demon seemed less significant. The curator heaved a sigh of relief when Searsex visibly calmed down. Leave the likes of these filthy demons to me, Lord Gremory. Searsex weighed his words, and a tiny part of him agreed with the curator. Sensitive information in times like this was best kept away from the general public, but someone is bound to know an SS-ranked demons loose in the human world. When were you planning to tell me? Until it spiraled out of your control? I intended to come clean after the alliance, but it seems words of the prison break got to you. Leave Shirak to me. As for your punishment, you'll be confined to the purge without access to the outer world for 5 years doing hard labor. You're too kind, my lord, the curator said through gritted teeth. He knew what Searsex was up to, keeping him in house arrest for 5 years. Searsex knew there was something up with the purge after the Great War. It was practically impossible for a Shirik to break free from the pillars, and if that was, let's assume, possible, then how did he escape the purge? The curator couldn't be trusted anymore. Oh, and a few members of my peerage are going to investigate this case. I expect your full cooperation and support, Kratios. Searsex looked over his shoulder, calling the curator by his name. Of course, Lord Searsex. The curator stood there looking at Searsex's form in the distance as he rode on the wyvern back to the gates of the purge. Lord Searsex, back in Kuo, Naruto's purple eyes trailed the demon, watching the abomination move on both hands, sniffing the air, screeching every now and then, searching for him. He took a quick glance, scanning the entire area filled with debris from destroyed buildings. Fortunately, the humans around the area were few, and luckily, they fled thinking a natural disaster occurred. Maybe they couldn't see the demon and thought it a natural disaster. Naruto couldn't tell, but one thing was for sure. The fight with the demon dealt a lot of damage to the surrounding buildings. I need to get him out of the city, Naruto mused. It was necessary to get the demon out of town if he wanted to avoid collateral damage. Naruto let out a sigh, mentally preparing himself as bait before he gave his position. Naruto took 3 strides, jumping to a 3-story building. The demon, sighting Naruto, threw its hand forward, stretching it to epic proportions, intending on grinding Naruto to a smear of flesh and blood, destroying a good part of the second to the top floor in an instant. Naruto emerged unscathed from the cloud of dust, grabbing the edge of the roof, almost losing his grip before he climbed up and ran towards the east. Looking to his right, he noticed a purple blur on the road following him, maneuvering its way through the buildings before it jumped up, landing on the same roof he was a few feet away from. He led it away from Kuo, moving appear as a yellow blur, and the demon chased after him relentlessly. He smirked when the dense forest on the outskirts of Kuo appeared in the distance. Landing on the forest floor, Naruto spun on the balls of his feet, tilting his head just in time to avoid a lightning-fast purple misty hand. He dashed sideways and missed another hand that would have surely ripped his head to shreds. The blonde ninja didn't like the situation he was in. He was wide open and the demon was well hidden, having the advantage to attack from the shadows. He only had a split second to dodge the demon's arms, and that was all thanks to Sage Mode's danger sensing. Naruto began jumping around, dodging the hands attempting to grab him. He ducked under a widespread palm before backflipping over another, landing on it, his feet making contact with the surprisingly firm surface. He raced towards the demon on the arm, finally spotting it in its hiding spot. The demon drew its outstretched arm back, pulling him forward, rearing its left hand back. The demon thrust its left hand forward, and one hand multiplied to many, trying to skewer the ninja into pieces. Equipping 2 kunais augmented with wind chakra, Naruto cut through the incoming hands, trying to stop him. The demon growled in frustration before enlarging the multiple hands from its body, intending on stopping Naruto's advancement. Naruto blasted his way through the hands with a Rasengan twice the size of his table. Seeing the barrage of tendril-like arms were becoming too much for him to handle. Sage Mode danger sensing went off again, and he had a sudden urge to look behind. A purple magic circle materialized behind him and a huge balled fist came out of it. Naruto somersaulted over the barrage in the front and at the same time escaped the sneak attack. With both Rasengans glowing in the night sky, the demon glared up at Naruto and retracted all its hands back. Naruto dived at the demon with both hands reared back. Senpo! Odama Rasengan, he yelled, bringing both Rasengans forward. The demon whispered in an ancient tongue and a purple magic circle appeared above its head, taking the full brunt of both Rasengans. Naruto's eyes widened a fraction when the magic circle absorbed a portion of the Rasengans before he forced his way through the magic barrier. The applied force caused both techniques to cancel each other out, leaving Naruto in the air, vulnerable. Naruto, with both arms crossed in the air, glared at the demon with Rinnegan ablaze. 2 purple magic circles appeared at Naruto's right and left. The demon smirked at Naruto, dipping its hands into both teleportation circles in its left and right, connected to the ones beside Naruto. It smirked, loving the look of surprise on the shinobi's face. The purple misty demon's hands came out of the magic circles on both sides of the shinobi, and both hands multiplied to many before they were all balled into fists. Naruto had a look of horror on his face before it turned into a smirk at the last minute, and a rain of purple tendril-like fists seemingly crushed Naruto to his death until... Poof! What the confused demon couldn't complete its sentence. Instead of a shower of blood, flesh and bones, all it got was smoke? It's official, an ancient demon has been added to the list of those fooled by Naruto Uzumaki's #1 favorite jutsu. A shrilling sound reached the demon's ear, and upon turning its head to the source of the noise, a blue-whitish mass flashed in its vision before Naruto materialized in front of it, his left hand reared back. Was he that fast? The demon thought in astonishment. There wasn't enough time to counter or dodge, and the power radiating from the Rasen Shuriken in Naruto's hands only helped petrify the demon. Futon. Rasen Shuriken, Naruto slapped the demon with the S-rank jutsu, using it like a melee weapon. Swoosh! The demon was blasted away at neck-breaking speed. The Rasen Shuriken followed, cutting deep into its body. The Rasen Shuriken detonated a good distance from Naruto, wind blowing everything away from sight. Splinters and huge trees flew everywhere. As soon as the jutsu died down, he spotted the demon cut in half, purple fluid seeping from the point it was cleaved in half and some spots all over its body. The demon rose from the ground, its form repairing itself at an astounding rate. A huge magic circle appeared over its head as it screamed, glaring dagger at the blonde shinobi. We are going to kill you." Back in Kuo, John ran back to Naruto's house like his life depended on it, and when he got there, he flung the door open and stood at the front door wheezing, desperately filling his lungs with oxygen. In the outskirts of Kuo, "You disgust me. Possessing a child," Naruto spat at the demon. "Graw!" it yelled, sending both fists at Naruto. Naruto stopped the incoming fists by thrusting both palms forward and letting loose a wave of wind chakra to help. He grabbed the offending hand, sticking to it with chakra before swinging the demon around at high speed. A Shirik bounced off the ground, unearthing a good chunk of it, and still, Naruto didn't let go until the demon became a blur before rearing his hands back, swinging the demon behind him. With a primal roar, he gripped harder and threw his hands over his head, slamming the demon to the ground. A bruised, unhappy demon rose from the crater he occupied, black mist seeping from its body. "You have infuriated us," it said with an eerie calm levitating in the air. Play Enma the Monkey King theme like a machine. The magic circle above it moved till it was in front of the demon. Clapping both hands, the magic circle moved till it was right in front of it. The demon took its aim at Naruto. The magic circle widened the moment it placed its hands on it, growing bigger and bigger, widening till it cracked. The ground groaned due to the pressure exerted on it by the magic the demon was conjuring. Spider cracks appeared all over the ground, and the spot Naruto stood on split into two, and from there, the surrounding areas started falling apart. In the underworld, Segun-sama, Graphia, Beowulf and Soji were waiting on her orders, but she seemed absorbed going through a stack of files holding important details about the demon loose on Earth. After going through it all, Serafal stood up with a distant look on her face. "We leave for Earth, now." Back in the outskirts of Kuo, Naruto stood on the cracked earth, leveling a straight face at the infuriated demon. "Dark Eraser!" it screamed, unleashing the magic it conjured. A huge stream of a dark mist, moving really fast while destroying the very ground they both stood on, zoomed toward Naruto, who was on a piece of rock. Calm purple eyes stared at the stream of darkness rushing toward him, destroying everything in its path. No, it was sucking everything in, corroding matter at an alarming rate. "I faced something like this before." The shinobi thought of a large earth wall, but that would prove useless. All the defensive techniques he knew would prove useless against the demon's attack. The shinobi raised his hands forward, palms outstretched. He rarely used this technique and actively avoided using it, but sometimes, your greatest defense is your greatest defense. "This one's for Nagato." He straightened his back, breathed in and out, closed his eyes, turned sideways and stretched his right hand forward, building a massive amount of chakra as he stretched out his palm, and then, he snapped his eyes open as soon as the dark stream was near and yelled, "Shinra Tensai." A mighty wave of gravity emanating from Naruto's outstretched palm ran over the dark stream, completely crushing it to nothingness. It didn't stop there though. An invisible force hit the demon hard, launching it away, sending it crashing through rows of trees, toppling them over. Naruto shunshined in front of the demon in midair with both fists joined together. He hammered the demon right in the face to the ground, creating a crater in the process before he stabbed its forehead with a kunai. A Shirik pushed its face and tried to spear his neck open with its right hand extended. Naruto backflipped, missing the fist by an inch, gaining a safe distance from the demon, landing with his right hand in front of his chest, both index and middle finger facing upwards while the thumb held the ring and pinky finger tucked in his palms. For a while there, the image of a mad one-eyed blonde wearing a dark cloak with red clouds cackling madly with his tongue hanging out of his mouth with both hands stretched out and crossed stood behind Naruto before Katsu. An explosion went off, blowing the demon's head off down to its midsection. The blonde human thought the fight was over before he frowned, seeing what was considered impossible happening. The demon grew another head in seconds. This thing, how'd I kill it? Look closely, Naruto. I'm sure it's got some kind of weakness. In the split second Naruto had a brief conversation with his tenant, the demon was already on Naruto, literally in front of his face, clawing hands about to dig into his skin. Graw! Thanks to Sage Mode, Naruto was able to act in the small window of time available to him, purple eyes darting around haphazardly. In slow motion, Naruto slapped the outstretched hand away and punched the demon in the face, triggering a mini shockwave. Naruto's pupil dilated a fraction before he straightened up. A Shirik skidded to a half before it roared at Naruto, glaring daggers at him. Naruto brought his right hand near his face and concentrated a huge amount of lightning chakra. Lightning burst into life in his hands, accompanied by the sound of 1,000 chirping birds. He had a little smirk on his face as he leveled a smug-filled glare at the demon. Found it. Instantaneously, Naruto appeared in front of the demon, blue eyes staring at the demon's red. He thrust his right hand inside the demon's mist-like body, eliciting a pain-filled cry from the demon. The pain Naruto's lightning-coated fist near its core brought was too much to hold back. Naruto placed his left hand on the demon's shoulder before he grabbed the core and yanked at it with his hand still coated with lightning. Ashiro's pain-dined shrill reduced in volume till it stopped. An eerie silence filled the battleground as the demon smirked at Naruto. Naruto narrowed his eyes at the demon before he opened his fist still inside the demon, expelling normal chakra in his right hand, spinning it around before he balled his fist, crushing the core in the process, sending a wave of lightning chakra dispersing the demon's body to the air, effectively killing it. The forest by now wasn't a forest anymore. Uprooted trees, uneven grounds, craters and splinters were everywhere. It was obvious a fight occurred here, especially the huge hole made by a Rasen shuriken in the middle of the forest. Sorry, nature. Naruto's fingers blurred through a series of seals before he slapped both hands on the earth. Stupid talking fog, murmured Naruto, looking at the botched job repair he did. Well, compared to the topography he and the demon created, this was much better, but the signs were still there, albeit veiled. Uzumaki Mansion, is he okay? An unsurprised John asked, seeing the child who was possessed in Naruto's house being tended to by Gaia. Martha stood a few feet away from the boy before her face lit up when she saw him. Ni-san, you're okay. Martha embraced her brother, happy to see he's okay. John held her tight in his arms, closing his eyes shut. He gave himself props for staying sane and keeping his emotions under control. After the events that transpired tonight, he isn't going to see the world the same way again after what had happened. Where's Naruto? Gaia asked, wondering why Naruto blew his cover, sending a clone and an unconscious child home. Gaia-san, your brother, what is he? Naruto. Gaia went silent, wondering how she was going to explain about everything to John. Fortunately, she was saved by a knock on the door. Gaia-san, a familiar feminine voice called from the front door. Naruto Uzumaki had a deep frown plastered on his face as he ran all the way back home at top speed. He caught a brief glimpse of the headline of the 11 p.m. news airing on the huge LCD screen attached to the TV station building. The headlines read, 10 dead, 3 security officers killed in bank robbery. This is much more serious than I thought. Ever since I moved to Kuo, the city's crime rate was pretty low, but since the past 7 days, it has skyrocketed to an absurd level. Naruto landed on a 12-story building sticking to the glass walls with chakra running horizontally across the surface and bounced off when he reached the edge of the building. He spotted the Uzumaki mansion, which was close now as Naruto could see the lights in the living room were still on. He landed on his front door, flinging the door wide open. Is he up? He threw the question, expecting an answer from anyone, but his question was countered with another question by someone he least expected. Naruto, where have you been and why are your clothes torn to shreds? Kuroka pointed a finger at the blonde. Did you get in a fight, NYA? Naruto actually took a moment to stare at Kuroka, shaking his head in disappointment. She was still the same as ever, zero courtesy. The pale blonde-haired detective stared at Naruto, blinking every now and then, unable to form a sentence. His mind told him to ask questions, but his mouth wouldn't open. Naruto moved to the boy, ignoring John's look, and placed a hand on his chest. The boy let out a soft moan as a green aura surrounded Naruto's hand and the wounds on the boy healed rapidly in front of their eyes. Martha had a hard time closing her mouth, trying to comprehend how the boy's injuries were healing at inhuman rates, and Kuroka only raised an eyebrow at the green chakra surrounding Naruto's hands. You can heal too? John finally opened his mouth, marveled at the display. You're okay? He asked, moving his palm towards John, ready to heal any wound. Yeah, but what was? John replied, but was cut abruptly by Naruto. I know you have a lot of questions. Naruto glanced from John to Martha and back to John. I'll answer them at a later date, it's late already. Naruto, don't tell me you're an alien, John shrieked, the thrill of being friends with an alien already brewing in his head. Naruto sighed out loud. He thought John was frightening sometimes, he was on point almost constantly, but he didn't know it, just spoke casually, not knowing truer words were never spoken. Well, in a sense, Naruto is an alien because he's from another universe entirely. What happened, Naruto? Whose kid is this? Gaia queried. Don't know. I found him in the streets, he was possessed by something eerie. Something eerie? Martha questioned, staying away from the boy. A cold chill went down her spine every time she looked at the boy. She had to suppress the urge to leave the room. That thing you were talking about, John, was it perhaps a purple demon with mist-like properties? Gaia asked, earning a raised eyebrow from Naruto. How did you know? Yeah, you're right, Naruto and John asked and said at the same time. Where is it? An alarmed Gaia asked. I killed it. What did you say? I pulled it out of the kid. We fought and I killed it. Naruto gave a short recap of the evening's event. Not only were you able to draw it out of the kid but also killed it? Gaia narrowed her eyelid with suspicion at Naruto and instantly materialized a green magic circle over her palm. Where is Naruto? She asked, a tiny fraction of her godly power manifesting itself as a green aura surrounded her body. The room became saturated with power and the others in the room found it hard to breathe except Naruto, who didn't even notice a thing except for the aura around Gaia. Naruto had a befuddled look on his face, giving the only reply he could think of, huh? Gaia? Kuroka questioned, not sure why the goddess in disguise looked like she wanted to cause Naruto bodily harm. On the other hand, when wake circles. Gaia, what's wrong with you? Naruto asked, taking cautious steps backwards. The normal humans in the room stared on, equally surprised to see a green circle levitating over Gaia's hand pointed at Naruto. No, it's you, Naruto, she said through gritted teeth. Naruto staggered back. Okay. Ask me a question only I would know the answer to. What are you? A shinobi. A shinobi? What's a shinobi? Kuroka and the pale blonde siblings thought. What rank were you? Ah, come on Gaia. It's me. Naruto stomped his foot on the floor like a 5-year-old. What rank were you? Jigenin. What do you call the big threes? Doves, bats and crows. Okay. I believe you. The mother goddess's godly powers recedes as the magic circle disperses. What was that? Naruto snapped, offended that she thought he was someone else. Naruto, this is much worse than we thought. Kuo no Japan, hell, the whole world is in danger. I don't think I follow. Kuroka joined the conversation, interested after hearing the human world is in danger. The rise in crime rates, that's it, and the weird thing I've been sensing all this time. Gaia trailed off. It all made sense to her now. What's a talking fog got to do with crime rates? Well, the crime rates have been up there for the past 3 days. The precincts are already full of criminals as it is, John remarked, finding it weird that the crime rates of the city suddenly skyrocketed, but after all he's seen today, he'd totally believe that a talking fog was somehow linked to the bizarre sudden increase in crime. It's all because of it. Gaia's face lit up. The whole thing made sense now. How did it escape its prison? Gaia pondered. Hey, I put an end to this thing. Problem solved, Naruto said, wondering why Gaia was getting all worked up over it. Naruto, I know you're strong, but a fight between you and that demon, everyone would have noticed. Gaia knew Naruto was one strong bastard, but she hadn't seen him go all out, so gauging his full power was quite vague, but she'd put him around the level of a super devil. That thing was pretty weak, Gaia. Sure, it was fast with crazy long limbs, but still, it was pretty weak. You guys shouldn't talk about the supernatural with these two around. The resident feline told the human and goddess duo, pointing at the normal humans in the house. Why? John asked, standing in front of Martha in a defensive manner. You guys aren't supposed to know, it's for your own good, Kuroka answered. The supernatural? John questioned. You will forget everything you heard tonight, Kuroka said, more like ordered, her aura taking a sudden change. The siblings' eyes glazed over for a second before they shook their heads, a bit disoriented with a mean headache. What the hell was that, lady? John yelled, rubbing his head. What the Nekomata's eyes widened a fraction. I feel dizzy, big bro. Don't you ever do that again, John hollered, holding Martha. Kuroka was dumbfounded. They were able to resist her memory wipe. Okay, what are you guys? Nothing makes sense at all. This guy can multiply and heal people. That woman was covered with a green aura and now you're trying to wipe my memory? Are you some kind of government nut job? You guys are weirdos. John's finally lost it seems. Government nut job, Naruto scoffed, turning around to face John. But, there's something I noticed about you, Super Cop. It's John, that thing, it wasn't after you. Naruto's aura turned cold in an instant and it was as if a war general took his place. The blonde waited to thicken the tension before he asked with cold piercing blue eyes, why? I don't know, maybe it attacked you cause it sensed you were the stronger one? How were you two able to resist the memory wipe? Naruto took a step forward. He's seen the magic trick work on normal humans and other devils had tried it on him, but let's just say, they were rendered wingless for the rest of their lives. Let's not lose our head here, everyone, Martha stuttered. Are you doubting me right now? John asked, a bit offended. Why are you exempted, brother? Martha grabbed John's sleeve. Let go, Martha, this guy, it happens all the time. Let it go, Martha snapped on the verge of tears. Her sudden outburst knocked Naruto out of his serious mode. Hey, Martha, it's alright. John hugged Martha close. Look, there's someone as weird as us right there, he said, glaring at Naruto. Kuroka had a confused look on her face. Gaia contemplated John's words and Naruto had an offended look on his face. What? I'm not weird, he defended. Define weird, Kuroka said to John. Ever since we were kids, we could see things normal people couldn't. From ghosts to those weird domes, everyone gave a wide berth to subconsciously. A sharp cold sensation shot through Naruto's spine at the mention of ghosts. He still hasn't overcome his fear of ghosts. One would think traveling to a new universe would cure him of his fear of ghosts, but on the bright side, it cured his stupidity. Martha would cry all day because she was very young and the mean kids would call her names. They ostracized her for being different, and it only got worse when we lost our parents. They disappeared all of a sudden. John held onto Martha tightly, controlling his emotions before he continued. I became a cop to protect my baby sister and so I could investigate our parents' bizarre disappearance. I haven't found a clue or anything about them and I know what the obvious answer is, but I hope I'll find them one day and I'm going to keep on searching till I find them. John had a determined look on his face at the end. Yeah, good sob story, but that doesn't explain why you guys are immune. Naruto gave a jerky reply, earning a glare from Kuroka and a punch from Gaia. Martha had this special ability, she somehow knows when a loved one is in danger. So that's how she knew her brother was in danger, Gaia realized. Did your parents have any kind of weird abilities too? What did they think about yours? The mother goddess inquired. They told us weird things ran in the family. Our great-grandmother could control the weather and my father told me his father could see glimpses of the future. There's only one explanation, sacred gear. I can't sense any sacred gear from them. Kuroka, Gaia and Naruto thought simultaneously. Tell me, what's that trinket? Naruto pointed at the jewelry hidden under John's shirt. Mama gave it to us when we were kids. Martha brought out her own trinket. She told us to always wear it, always. Have you ever tried taking it off? Naruto wondered. Naruto, what? It's not as if they're going to die as long as I'm here. Dick, Kuroka gave Naruto a dry look, prompting Naruto to level a heated glare at her. Wait, Gaia moved forward, inspecting the trinket on Martha's neck. What's your last name? Hunter, Martha replied. Let me see that. Gaia moved forward and grabbed a hold of the trinket on Martha's neck. It had the design of a bat wing and a bird wing on the one side and a heart between both wings. Gaia's pupils dilated a fraction after she saw the trinket. How old are you, Martha? 16. I see. Gaia zoned out. The unconscious little boy stirred in his sleep, moaning uncomfortably. Naruto grabbed a cup of water before he checked how the boy was doing. The little child was unconscious with a pained look on his face. He had beads of sweat all over his face and Naruto took pity on the boy, placing a hand on his head, channeling a bit of healing chakra into the boy to soothe his nerves. Kuroka joined him, checking up on the boy. As of today, both of you are going to be staying with us till I'm 100% sure about all this. Puff, Naruto spat out a mouthful of water on Kuroka. You animal, she yelled, exasperated. Oi, 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 what do you mean stay with us? He yelled, greatly perturbed. An hour later, in the outskirts of Kuo. The potent magic is still in the air, demon, Beowulf said, looking around. Are you sure this is the place? He asked Graphia. Yes, she replied. With all this destruction, it's obvious a fight occurred, Seraphol said, standing on the same spot Naruto was when he used the Diva Path abilities, seeing the path of destruction. Though most of it had been covered by Naruto, but a few signs of it were still present, and the massive amount of magic in the air. But, who's strong enough to go toe-to-toe with an SS-rank demon in Japan? Beowulf threw the question at the group. That's the million-dollar question, Seraphol said, staring at Soji, although I'm afraid of something more greater. In all of Japan, there's only one human I suspect, Soji said, spotting a blood-stained fabric on the floor. A human defeated a Shirik? Beowulf scoffed in disbelief. Do you think it's him? Seraphol referred to Naruto. Do you think he's that powerful? Not bad for a human. Very impressive. I guess the mission is accomplished, Beowulf said, smirking. No, it just got a lot harder. Seraphol had a frustrated look on her face. What do you mean? Beowulf asked, a bit confused. That was just a part of it, possessing a fraction of the original's power, Graphia explained. Soji inspected the blood-stained fabric in his hand. A purple magic circle hovered over the piece of fabric before he balled his fist. Closing his eyes in concentration, he opened them a moment later and the fabric hovered in the air before it was engulfed in a purple blaze. Soji let a smirk grace his features. Naruto, Uzumaki, here I come. We leave for the blonde's house at once. The next day, Uzumaki Mansion. Yesterday night, history happened in the Uzumaki Mansion. 2 humans. No scratch that. 3 humans stayed the night in his house and 2 of them are going to live with him for a while. Gaia had him activate the security seals he placed around the house, after they had a lengthy conversation about the demon with John behind closed doors. They all silently agreed Martha wasn't ready for dangers like the one they were currently facing. They talked for what seemed like hours but was merely 30 minutes before a reluctant Naruto told them to go sleep on the 2nd floor. The blonde pondered on what Gaia told him about the hunter and his forced decision to let them stay, and before he knew it, he was fast asleep. He was pulled into his mindscape at first light. I can't believe this. I mean, I'm the house owner. Why don't I have a say in this? Naruto complained in his mindscape, staring at Kurama's huge red orbs. It's for their safety, Naruto. Remember what Gaia said. But it was all speculation and she was very vague and oblique about it. Better safe than sorry, the eight-tailed octopus said. Yuki, you're backing Kurama up? Naruto, they're your responsibility now. Maybe fate brought them to you. The Nibi no Nekomata, Matabi said. Naruto narrowed his eyes, staring off into the distance. It's that bitch again, fate. Anyways, we all agreed to help keep the young siblings safe. Come on, what happened to staying away from people's shit? I thought we promised not to interfere with the supernatural world. Receiving no reply from the tailed beasts, Naruto face planted in the sewer that is his mindscape. You guys are unbelievable. When did you become a hypocrite, Naruto? Shikaku asked, the normal crazed voice replaced with a calm one. I'm doing this to protect you guys. We have already decided, Naruto, Kurama said, rising on all fours. Just because we fear discovery doesn't mean we should turn a blind eye when someone's in danger. There's no danger. I got rid of it, remember? The light I once saw in you, it didn't falter, nor did it dim. You casted a shadow over it yourself. What do you mean? Naruto raised an eyebrow at the mountain-sized fox. Naruto-san? A muffled voice called from the outside world. Someone's trying to wake me up. Better get going. Naruto sizzled out of his mindscape, leaving the tailed beasts inside. K, I'm doing this to protect you all, he says. Kurama mimicked Naruto's voice. We all know you're doing this to protect yourself, Naruto. Naruto snapped his eyes wide open to Martha's lovely face. Her purple orbs shone brightly in the morning sun as she stared at him with a curious expression. Naruto-san, Martha spoke softly, Gaia-san requested you to depower the seals. Oh, I forgot about that. John scoffed, staring at a piece of paper with weird scribblings on it. I can't believe this thing is keeping me from going out, I'm running late for work. He's still not up yet, Kuroka yelled over the loud morning soap opera. Kuroka, turn down the volume and get your legs off the couch. This isn't an inn for you to do as you please and stop freeloading off others. Martha looked down dejectedly behind Naruto. Kuroka and Gaia, seeing the sad look on her face, glared at Naruto, and John clicked his tongue in frustration. Naruto wondered why the goddess and the feline were glaring at him but shrugged it off. The glare Gaia gave him was the "I'll have a word with you later" glare, and that means he'd better brace for some serious lectures about life and how to behave. Kai. Naruto placed a hand on the seal, deactivating it. It gave a faint glow as its effects wore off. Naruto was quite against the idea of having the hunters stay with him, and he was pretty sure to voice his displeasure yesterday night, and he was quite loud about it. John stared at his sister one last time before he left. I'll buy you a huge cotton candy, Martha. Martha smiled at her older brother, giving him a nod. Naruto now knew he did something wrong because the smile on her face was fake. Yar, Naruto sighed. Oi, Martha, go freshen up. Why do you want her to freshen up? Kuroka challenged, still angry at Naruto. It's not as if she brought any spare clothes. Just take one from Gaia's wardrobe, but do it before I change my mind. Naruto cut Martha off, grabbing the remote, leveling a heated glare at Kuroka as if saying, challenge me if you dare, before he turned down the volume. I don't have all day, girl. Naruto-san, where are we going? Martha asked, feeling uncomfortable under the leers of men on the streets. Tisk, Gaia has no fashion sense. All she knows is green, he sighed irritably. Martha had a sweat drop on her face because Naruto wore a neon orange t-shirt tucked into orange denim jeans, an orange sneaker and dark shades. He had orange buttons and an orange wristwatch. Talk about overboard. An orange sports car would have been the perfect ride, don't you think, Marie? The shinobi never found the need to own a car or a phone. The fastest machine these humans created couldn't keep up with him at full speed, and he once chased a jet, but that's a story for another day. Martha nooded behind Naruto with a sweat drop. Naruto stopped at the bus station waiting for the next bus. I never needed a car, but now that I think about it, it would have been pretty cool to own a filthy expensive ride, Naruto muttered. What did ya say, Marie? Marie, she thought, shaking her head. Where are we going, Naruto-san? We're going to get you a change of wardrobe. Say what? If you're going to be staying with me for a while, you're going to need clothes, won't you? But we could have just, nah, I'm feeling generous today, and I think you misunderstood me back then. Back then, I didn't mean to hurt your feelings. I was only trying to hurt that feline's feelings. Feline? You love coming up with weird names for your friends, Martha giggled. She's not my friend, Naruto snapped. You say so, but your actions say otherwise. Huh? Well, I think you bicker back and forth because you like her. If anything, you both look like lovers to me. Naruto's face turned green as he made gagging motions. Martha chuckled with a radiant smile on her face before the next bus pulled over. Martha got in first before Naruto and Sekyu the back. 10 minutes into the ride, a brown-haired man approached them. Excuse me, but does heaven know you're missing? He said, staring at Martha. She became visibly uncomfortable as she shrinked behind Naruto holding his arm. He blasted the brown-haired man who was trying to flirt with Martha a nice dose of ki. Get lost, he ordered. Martha beamed at Naruto, expressing her gratitude, making the blondie scoff. Next time, you should tell them to get lost with a poker face or an angry face, alright? Osu. Martha conjured up her most serious face. She seemed rather cute than serious. My god, we have a lot of work to do, Uzumaki Mansion. Kuroka lay sprawled in one of the second floor's rooms, burning her gaze on the Hyodo's house, thinking about her baby sister. Flashback. Hey, I know I have no right to butt in between sibling matters and I might seem nosy to you, but don't you think it's high time you talk to her? She deserves to know the truth, don't shield her from it. The truth? Kuroka repeated. You're afraid she might reject you even if she knew what happened. Well, if you're afraid, there's nothing I can do about it. Flashback ends. Those words still cut her every time she remembered them. Kuroka. Gaia knocked on the open door. You seem worried. Care to share it with this old woman? Kuroka turned her head up and spoke. It's nothing. Listening to John last night, I guess I must have failed at performing my responsibility as an older sibling. Gaia flopped on the bed with a sigh. I guess I failed too. We all failed at something in life. The blonde is lucky to have zero expectations. He's as free as a bird, yet there's this sad, melancholic, self-loathing, pitiful aura around him. Well, you're right. Naruto is someone filled with great sorrow, that's why I promised I'll try my best to heal his wound and fill his heart, but Naruto won't let anyone that's not me in. His sorrow is too much for me to cure and I have no idea on how to help him. I sometimes think his sorrow is incurable. Whoa, that's deep. Naruto had problems like that? More than you can imagine. To think of it, I don't know much about the bastard. I don't know what he hates and what he likes except ramen. Both girls shared a laugh. Naruto, if you look past his sour and offensive front, he's a great guy, but, Kuroka pouted, a grimace gracing her face. It's almost impossible to look past his cold, abominable personality. She sat up in bed. I'll try to help in any way I can. Gaia lips curved up a fraction. Before you help him, help yourself first. Amend your relationship with your sister. Kuroka bit her lips and nodded. Her mind made up. When the holidays ends, she's going to confront Sharon and tell her how much she's missed her and how sorry she was for leaving her alone after all these years. Scene change. Whoa, it's huge. Martha marveled at the huge clothing store. The 12-story building belonged to a famous multinational fashion brand. It was a clothing store meant for the rich and privileged, and well, Naruto's lifestyle didn't match privileged, so it was quite baffling to Martha why Naruto chose this store instead of the cheaper ones. Come along, Marie. Wait, you want to buy clothes from Golden Fabric, the most expensive clothes store in Kuo? Martha questioned, appalled. Yeah, is there a problem? BB, but Naruto waltzed into the building with style, scanning the entire area for something or someone suspicious. Come here, Marie, the blonde called John's baby sister over in a lift. Martha stood beside Naruto as he hit the number 9 button. The elevator door closed shut and their ascent began. A few moments later, the door opened with a ding, giving view to a sea of different fashion brands. Welcome, sir, ma'am. A black-haired woman in a black business suit greeted the two customers. Naruto inclined his head a little before he flopped on the couch, finding it comfy. He pulled a golden card with a grain leaf design out of his pocket and flashed it before the woman's eyes before he laid his head to rest and cross his legs over the armrest. The woman nodded with a smile and grabbed Martha by her arm, pulling her over, introducing the various rows of flashy, elegant designers. The woman picked a shining gown out for Martha and pulled her towards the changing room filled with maids to help her get into her clothes. Martha tried on different clothes and had varying complaints, but the ones that stood out the most were, it's too revealing, it's too expensive. They all ignored her though and brought in more clothes for her to wear. Kuo Police Station. John wrapped his fingers around the metal handle of the table. He drew it back, opening the drawer to an assortment of files. He grabbed a golden trinket, pulling the golden chain attached to it with his other hand. With a deep sigh, John opened the trinket housing a photo of his parents. Mom, Dad, I'm scared I might not be able to protect her this time. John clutched the trinket to his heart, sighing again. He'd do anything to protect his baby sister, even if he had to become a devil. He'd do absolutely anything. Flashback. A 7-year-old John crept behind his mother, who was busy stroking a katana inside a black sheath. Mom, why do you clean that sword every day? Oh, my strong prince. John's father lifted him from behind, making the little boy squirm. He giggled as his father lifted him in his arm. A 2-year-old Martha sound asleep in his other arm. Honey, John's mother smiled lovingly at her husband. Well, that sword, it's a family heirloom that protects our family, but bad people want that sword and they do anything to get it, so it's a gift and a curse. A gift and a curse? Yes, and Papa hopes you never have to use that sword. You, your sister, or any of your descendants. What does it do? Can it ward off ghosts? Both adults laughed at John's question. Why? Do you want to banish a ghost? He asked. Yeah, a bad ghost. Bad ghosts always trouble baby sister. Little John had a cute pout on his face. Listen to my big boy, I'm so proud of you. He gets that protective personality from you, honey. Just ignore them and they'll go away. You'll always be there to protect us, right? John asked, an innocent smile plastered to his face. John's father put him down and gave little Martha to his wife. Listen, John. Remember to always wear that. Always, and when we're not here anymore, remember to always protect your baby sister. Little John's mind was still too young to understand those words, so he spoke like the child he was. Are you going somewhere? If you are, take us with you. John embraced the older man. The older man smiled and ruffled John's hair. I'll always be with you, son. Always. Martha and the mother of the family joined the group hug. Little John sighed and whispered how nice and warm his parents were. Flashback ends. Detective John. Hiroshima had been calling his partner for the past 2 minutes now. Get your ass moving. Someone just called in an ongoing robbery. What? Yes, sir. I'm on my way. John wore a bulletproof vest and holstered his weapon. A team of specially trained police were ready to support them. Scene change. Uzumaki Mansion. The last Uzumaki breathed a sigh of relief when the car came to a stop in front of his house. Releasing a grunt of effort, he swam through the raging currents of designers he bought for the platinum blonde teen. He got off the car pushing the stack of bags threatening to fall over back in, closing the door in a hurry. Just cause I flashed a Royale card doesn't mean they have to give me everything she wore or pointed at, he raged mentally. Naruto-san, are you okay? Martha stood beside the blonde with a sheepish expression on her face. Naruto overdid himself this time around. There was a reason Golden Fabric gave a golden Royale card to very few special people and all of them were men. I'll live. Naruto huffed. Hey, stop wasting my time and get your belongings off my car, the Uber drivously. Naruto, still under the weather, mentally exhausted and highly irritable at the moment, snapped at the driver. Shut the fuck up, I'll pay you double your money, you fucker. Naruto-san, it's rude to curse at others. You gotta fucking curse them to get your point across sometimes. Wait, Naruto, is that what I think it is? Kuroka rushed out with stars in her eyes. That's a lot of bags, Gaia, who was behind Kuroka, remarked. Hey, you better start unloading or I'm gonna drive away, the Uber driver yelled again. That's it, I'm leaving a bad review on your website. Shut up, Blondie, you wanna go, Uber driver? He asked, raising his fists like a boxer would. Naruto and the driver started bickering back and forth before a blue magic circle appeared and the temperature dropped significantly. The driver went unconscious in an instant while Martha swayed on her feet. Naruto-san-see, Serafal stopped mid-sentence upon spotting Kuroka. Kuroka seeing the devils paled significantly, and in the moment it took her to blink, a gust of wind blew past her. Orange filled her vision, Naruto's orange-clad back. He had one of his hands in front of him and he was between her and a huge man she recognized as one of the top 5 strongest pawns in the underworld. Oi, what the fuck are you doing? The shinobi asked. Beowulf narrowed his eyes at Naruto. The lanky boy reacted as fast as he attacked and was able to stop his punch, nothing short of impressive. Soji unsheathed his sword and a second later, he was behind Kuroka, his sword raised up overhead. Swoosh clang. Another Naruto stood between Kuroka and Soji holding Soji's blade back with a kunai. You guys are overstepping your boundaries. Know your place. A faint aura of blue energy surrounds Naruto's kunai as he pushes Soji back. Soji jumped back and so did Beowulf when they sensed the serious aura around Naruto. Leviathan, harboring an SS-rank stray devil is punishable by death no matter the species, right? Soji asked, brandishing his sword. Serafal sighed. No, it's not. Lethal force can and will be used if the one who harbors them refuses to turn them over, Beowulf stated. SS-rank stray devil, Martha mused. A bit scared. All she did was blink and now, there were 2 Narutos guarding Kuroka. Naruto, Kuroka looked down dejectedly before she took reluctant steps towards the devil group. You hate dealing with other shit, so let me take care of mine. Her eyes were pleading for something to happen, but at the same time, her rational side didn't want to bring harm to Naruto and Gaia. No one could fend off a Satan-class devil, the strongest queen of the underworld and 2 peerage members of the Great Mao. She'd at least protect Naruto and the others if she surrendered. Oi, Kuroka. Naruto grabbed her shoulder. Let me go, Naruto. I'm a criminal, an SS-rank devil who killed her master. Do you want to harbor a killer with a bounty from the underworld? Martha blinked again and now, she was inside Naruto's compound sitting at the ongoing scene with clone Naruto beside her. She poked the other Naruto to confirm if he was an illusion but flinched under the glare of the clone. Shut your crap. Naruto's bangs cast a shadow over his eyes. What? Kuroka strained her ears to listen to Naruto. I said, shut it. Naruto picked her up and threw her into his compound. A faint glow covered the entrance blocking Kuroka's to come out. Naruto. Don't fight them. You can't handle them alone. Please let me out. As long as you're my guest, I don't know about a pretty Neko with a bounty on her head or an SS stray whatever. Right now, you're Kuroka, a guest, a pest. A parasite living in the house of Naruto Uzumaki and nobody, I mean nobody messes with my guests." Naruto's loud declaration warmed Kuroka's heart like a bonfire and a tingling sensation shot down her spine. "Don't impress me, Naruto. I don't think you can handle the aftermath," Kuroka whispered, staring at the blonde ninja. He looked so cool in orange. "What's this? I smell love in the air." Gaia chuckled, walking till she was beside Naruto. "Gaia-san, stop, please," Martha and Kuroka called out. Seraphol blinked, her eyes reflecting confusion and wariness. She didn't notice the woman beside Naruto until she made her presence clear. Well, looks like the human's fallen for the stray devil," Beowulf stated. "Shut it, big guy." Naruto waved a punch threateningly at the big devil. "You know, I've never seen you fight, Naruto. Care to demonstrate?" Gaia asked. Gladly, Soji materialized before Naruto and attempted to cut him into two. Naruto leaned back and had to fight the urge to blur through a series of hand seals when he remembered his house was right there, beside him. The Naruto before Soji suddenly disappeared and reappeared behind Soji, a kunai at his neck, drawing a drop of blood. "Naruto Uzumaki," Seraphol called the blonde who ignored her. "Hey, Naruto." Naruto turned around, blasting them with ki to get his point across. "Take another step and I'm going to kill him. I'm in a bad mood right now. Don't disturb me," warned Naruto. Graphia and Seraphol sighed before the very ground Naruto, Gaia and Soji were standing on was covered with ice. Soji took the cue and escaped Naruto's hold. "What the heck, why'd you let yourself be captured and by a human no less?" Beowulf berated. Soji wasn't a pushover himself, he was just testing the waters to have a vague grasp on Naruto's speed, and boy was it impressive. "I didn't want to do this, but I guess I'll have to bring you and that criminal in for questioning." Seraphol raised her hand and a magic circle formed below Naruto and Gaia. Naruto wanted to jump away from it, but the effect was instantaneous. His body had already frozen to his waist and Gaia too. Naruto tried to break the ice with a kunai, but the edge of the kunai only chipped off. "It's useless," Graphia whispered. The ice gluing them to the ground didn't budge no matter how hard Naruto hit it. With a sigh from Seraphol, she breathed out cold air and balled her fist, encasing Naruto and Gaia in a block of ice in an instant. "Naruto," Kuroka's hands went limp beside her. "Go retrieve the criminal and wipe that human's memory out." Beowulf tried to enter the compound, but a force field prevented him from doing so. He tried again and met the same resistance. "It won't budge," he grunted. "Apply effort, crack. Too bad. You guys can't enter." Naruto's voice was heard from inside the ice prison they were in. Boom! The ice cube broke into pieces, sending ice shards around. Hot steam came out of Naruto's body before it receded. "What was that?" Gaia asked. "It's called Futen, a combination of fire and water chakra." "Ah, interesting, you can combine them," Gaia exclaimed. "Hey, listen. We both don't want to fight here, so why don't you tell me why you are here in the first place?" Naruto took a diplomatic approach. "Last night, did you fight a demon?" Seraphol questioned the blonde. "Yeah, what about it?" He raised an eyebrow, not denying the fact he did. "Did you kill it?" "Yeah, what about that?" "You shouldn't have killed it," Seraphol yelled. "How were you able to kill it in the first place?" "I wouldn't have if I had known you bats were after it." "You just made our job much harder," she said, walking up to Naruto with zero fear. She had her guard lowered. Naruto stared at her small form approaching him. "What do you mean?" Naruto inquired, his anger sated in favor of curiosity. Chapter 14. "Oh, hell no. There's no way I'm riding with a bat colony." "Yep, you guessed it right." One Naruto Uzumaki shot up to his feet and yelled indignantly. Here's what happened after the little skirmish in the last chapter. Naruto retold his fight with the demon in a vague manner, leaving important bits about his abilities, but he noticed the eyes of the devils widened a fraction when he told them he was able to drag the demon out of the child it possessed. In that moment, Seraphal's eyes glazed over. A certain gleam in her eyes as she stared into the distance. Naruto Uzumaki was undoubtedly the unknown factor. He was baffling, to say the least, and now that this opportunity had provided itself, she would take full advantage of it. Hence her proposal, and the blonde reacted in a wild manner, to say the least. Naruto shot up to his feet, glaring at Seraphol. The couch was even taller than she was, who returned his glare with a calm look. The blonde refused to let them in, but relented when Gaia told him to let them in, though he did complain about bats infesting his house or something. After the little outburst, the blonde was already moving, making a beeline to the door. Naruto held his hand on the doorknob and flung the door wide open for the devils. His glare said it all. A simple unspoken leave. Seraphol knew he'd decline her offer, but she was hoping she wouldn't have to pull the ace up her sleeves, but now she had to if she wanted the blonde to cooperate. Kuroka's sins will be pardoned, she said, only raising an eyebrow as Naruto's expression faltered. What? He stuttered. Kuroka, if you help us fight the demon, all her sins will be pardoned. I give you my word. Naruto turned his body around like a machine, his brain already processing the string of curses perfect for the devil group, and as he was about to spit them out, he stopped. taking a quick glance at Kuroka, who was a few feet away from the chair he occupied a moment ago. He held her gaze, which portrayed something that was a mix of worry and trepidation, which made him grimace. Sure, Kuroka was as annoying as a housefly buzzing around in one's face, and quite a nosy one at that, but he had come to care about her. "It's your choice, Naruto," the former Seitree said, looking from Naruto to Kuroka. Gaia watched it all, munching on a cookie besides Martha. "You're poorly misinformed devils, but I wonder, what's he gonna do?" she said, staring at the devil group like they were lost sheep. On the other hand, riding with the devils might prove a thrilling experience after all. He could give them a sneak peek of his power level and at the same time send a subtle warning, "Don't fuck with me." Naruto sucked in air sharply and exhaled loudly. He raised 2 fingers and said, "Only on 2 conditions." "Do you think you're in a position to give conditions?" Soji asked, glaring at the man who could make him go out of character with his presence alone. "Do you want my help or not?" he asked, irritation sipping into his voice. "I'd rather take the peaceful route. Provided the conditions are fair, yes," Serafal said, shifting in the chair. 1. I'll help track and contain it. I won't be doing any fighting. I was this close to defeat and I don't want to die prematurely. Gaia raised an eyebrow at Naruto. That wasn't what he told her. 2. Let's not see each other again when we are done. You have a deal then, Naruto. Naruto sighed for what felt like the millionth time that day. Fate had fucked with him and trouble had laid in bed with him. The latest stunt, he just became a posse for devils. Scene change. The underworld, unknown location, a brown-haired, brown-eyed youth was being smacked around a clearing by a purple, bipedal, overgrown, winged lizard. Huge streams and balls of flames chased the brown-haired youth around and he tried his best to avoid them and at the same time, tried to inflict some damage back to the dragon many times his size. Keyword. Tried. Now you might ask why a dragon was smacking the hell out of a defenseless boy. It's simple actually. If for a single reason, training. The black-haired, pervert and arms orc consultant deemed his stamina and durability levels mediocre, so here he was getting whipped into shape by Tannen. He took solace in the fact that he wasn't the only one going through a rigorous training and hoped his fellow peerage members were having it as hard as he was. Focus. Sekiryute. His moment of distraction cost him a few inches of his hair. The smell of burnt hair sparked a hunger for grilled meat in Issei. After getting smacked around and getting smacked some more, Tannen decided to call it a day, and here they were. Man-air reincarnated devil with a dragon-air reincarnated devil dragon, beside a bonfire to recuperate and keep warm. You'll have to achieve Balance Breaker if you want to win the rating game, Tannen stated, his voice thick and booming. Yeah, I know. I achieved Balance Breaker once. Really? More like I was beaten close to death by my sensei and the human world. Can you, do what, activate Balance Breaker? No, I haven't felt that feeling of despair he put in me that made me activate it from anyone else. What if I don't even say it or think about it? Issei wasn't looking forward to reliving that feeling, not anytime soon. As he idly poked the flames with a twig, the ground he sat on split open and he jumped away from the spot, landing in a defensive stance. Impressive. Though I wouldn't have expected any less from the Red Dragon Emperor. Who are you? Call me Cyroorg. I'm just trying to weed out the competition. Okay. Well then, Hyodo, train well and let's have a memorable battle later. What a weird guy, Issei commented, looking at the stranger in the sky. The next day, Uzumaki Mansion, Naruto-san. Naruto's eyes snapped open and he had to suppress his ninja reflexes or he would have pinned Martha to the bed and her blood would have stained his bedsheet, courtesy of the kunais hidden in the seals on his wrists. Marie? He's regained consciousness, Martha yelled. Who? The Uzumaki Mansion living room was full and at the same time silent for once. Martha and Kuroka sat on the side couch while Naruto, Gaia, John and the little boy Naruto rescued were on the long couch. The boy was between Naruto and Gaia while John was beside the goddess. He kept staring at the ground before Gaia took the initiative and started a conversation. How are you feeling? The boy didn't react at all. Just kept on staring at Naruto's floor. He's been unresponsive, Martha told the blonde with a look of pity. Well, being possessed by an old URK, Gaia elbowed Naruto in the stomach. Naruto pushed the offending hand aside and glared at Gaia. The boy was suffering an inner turmoil. He knew something possessed him and it was a miracle Naruto found him on time. We've tried everything to get his attention but he's not responding, Kuroka spoke up. Naruto tilted his head and placed an open palm in front of the boy at his eye level. The adults in the room all raised an eyebrow at this before their confusion turned to fascination when the sound of a Rasengan being created filled the room. A perfect Rasengan, glowing and swirling in all its chaotic glory, caught the boy's attention and he was mesmerized by it. Wow, he exclaimed, his eyes lighting up like a Christmas tree. Naruto let a smirk grace his face before he balled his fist, ending the jutsu. What was that? John asked the question that was on everyone's mind with awe on his face. Very few got to see the Rasengan up close outside of battle situations, after all. The boy pouted and his countenance fell. Rasengan, Naruto said again, recreating his father's technique, and the boy was captivated again. Naruto balled his fist shut, canceling the jutsu. The boy pouted and stared at Naruto, who inclined his head towards his fist, giving him a nod. Rasengan, the boy called the jutsu's name, staring at Naruto when nothing happened. Pronounced. Rasengan. The boy repeated with improvement this time. And his effort was rewarded when a wind-style Rasengan burst into life instantly in Naruto's hand. The boy jumped and clapped and made to touch it before Naruto stretched his arm to lengths the little boy couldn't reach. Naruto snorted at the crestfallen expression the boy displayed. Me, Naruto. You, Shimura. Somehow, Gaia felt proud watching the interaction between Naruto and the now named Shimura. He could be a big softie sometimes, that blondie. Do you know where your house is? Naruto asked. No? Your parents? Gaia spoke up beside the boy. No? Do you remember anything or anyone? John questioned. No, Shimura has no daddy or mommy. Martha gasped. Being an orphan, at a young age like Shimura, she knew the hardships involved. And he was all alone too, unlike her. At least she had John. The platinum blonde-haired detective shifted uncomfortably and an air of sympathy filled the living room until Naruto flicked the boy on the head and scoffed as he rolled his eyes. Naruto, Kuroka barked. Tell me, Shimura, where's your mom? Naruto asked, all traces of friendliness gone. What are you doing, Naruto? He just told us. Naruto abruptly cut John off when he remembered he was the only empath in the house. He's lying. What? Shimura thought it was better if you didn't know about Shimura's mommy. The boy said his first sentence. He paused when he saw that he had gained everyone's attention. My daddy is dead and mommy tried her best to take care of Shimura. She loved Shimura. She cared for Shimura and Shimura was happy, but then, Takeshi Teme came to our house. Takeshi Teme? How old is this boy? Gaia pondered. Takeshi Teme married mommy, and since then, mommy didn't treat Shimura like before. Mommy ignored Shimura. Takeshi Teme took Shimura's mommy away from Shimura. He was neglected. Stupid woman, Naruto hissed. Hey, Shimura's mommy isn't stupid. She's beautiful, caring, and she's my mommy. Little Shimura tried to defend his beloved mother. She'll love Shimura back if Shimura endures. Shimura will win her heart back again, believe it. The boy spoke with such confidence the adult's hearts swelled. Naruto shot up to his feet after the boy's speech and said, Oi, Kozo. He narrowed his eyes at the boy. Where's your mommy at? Scene change. The underworld. Today was undoubtedly an auspicious day for all of Devilkind. Today marks a change in the supernatural world's history, and the young devils gathered today in this fancy party were the witnesses to this great historic event. The chief deity of the Norse mythology, Odin, would grace them with his presence today and sign the peace treaty. The importance of this event is so great to devils and Asgardians alike, and the benefits of this treaty becoming a success for both parties is too great to ignore. Of course, peace loved to play hard to get only this time around. Some of the Norse deities weren't in consensus with Odin's decision, and none of them was more furious than the Norse god of mischief, Loki. As if Loki wasn't a handful, the threat known as Chaos Brigade lurks in the shadows, their goal, to sabotage the treaty. The leaders of the Big Three were ever vigilant in order to prevent something like that from happening. The Archangel Michael and the Governor-General of the Fallen Angels were present on the podium awaiting Odin. The Maus were present too, with the exception of one Seraphal Leviathan. Among the crowd of young devils, Rias Gremory and her peerage were present, Sona Citri and her peerage too were present, Cyroorg and his devil servants, Diodora Astaroth, just to mention a few, were all among the crowd chatting away to kill time before the arrival of Odin. The devils didn't have to wait long though, because Odin arrived right on time. The chief Norse god was flanked by Barakiel, a fallen angel and father to Akano Himejima, and the virgin Valkyrie, Rosweiss. The young devils had their attention on the old Cyclops. Very few out of Asgard got the opportunity to see Odin in all his old perverted glory after all. A certain brown-haired pervert voiced his surprise in a rather loud manner. It's Odin. Issei pointed at the one-eyed god. Issei-kun, it's rude to point, Kiba corrected. The gang was together, ready to witness history in the making. Today, the Norse faction and the Devil faction are going to sign a peace treaty, but unfortunately, like always, a peace treaty, a summit, or a gathering of leaders of any kind is bound to attract trouble. Odin, chief deity of the Norse faction, accompanied by Barakiel, a loyal fallen angel, and Rosweiss, his bodyguard, walked to the group of devil leaders, noticing the absence of one Seraphal Leviathan. It's been a while, shitty old man from the far north, Azazel said with a smile on his face. It's been a while, bratty one, Odin replied, stroking his beard. Lord Odin, on behalf of the devils present, I welcome you, Sirzex greeted. Oh Sirzex, how are you, boy? He asked. The leaders exchanged formal greetings, then Odin introduced his bodyguard, Rosweiss. This one here is Rosweiss, full of potential. She's too serious and no man gives her the time of the day, that's why she's still a virgin. Said Virgin Valkyrie mourned her single status and her virginity. I can't help but notice, where's the short brat, Seraphal? The leaders tensed all of a sudden, not knowing how to cover for Seraphal. She running late and had to take care of something important. Azazel spoke up for the group. I see. Odin stroked his beard again. Searsex gave a short speech about the peace treaty and their promise to strive towards peace and harmony in the supernatural world and his vision to create a solid relationship with the Norse faction. To fight against the terrorist organization, Chaos Brigade. After his speech, he turned to Odin and said, Lord Odin, if you have no objections, please sign the treaty. Stroking his long beard, Odin nodded, moving toward the monument. He let a grunt escape his lips, ignoring the foreboding feeling in his gut. The old Cyclops moved forward, and as he was about to place his palm on the treaty, effectively signing it, his hand a millimeter away from sealing the deal, before a voice from nowhere interrupted him. I object. So you came after all, Loki, Odin smirked, eyeing Loki who was levitating in the air. A white-blue magic circle appeared in thin air and out came Loki, in all his godly glory shining in a bright white suit, and the Norse god of mischief wasn't happy, at all. Well, this is a rare guest, Azazel commented. The young devils and the guards present were at alert seeing Loki levitating in the air, a mean stare directed at Odin. They moved to intercept Loki at the slightest hostile move. Lord Loki, though you are a Norse god, you have no right to cause havoc here. Searsex was displeased. You old fool. Asgard still suffers from the damage she received, yet here you are signing nonsense treaties with devils. Loki spat, ignoring everyone except Odin. The leaders and the young devils present had a perplexed look on their face. Roswise, from her place beside Odin, balled her fists in anger at the mention of the damage Asgard received from a terrorist attack. Loki, if you return to Valhalla now, I'll forgive you, Odin told Loki with a displeased look on his face. Forgive me? Don't joke around, old geezer. If you ally us with other mythologies we won't be able to achieve Ragnarok. Oh, the twilight of the gods was once at our fingertips, how glorious would it have been if not for that. Cease your mouth, Loki, Odin yelled. Silence, old fool, Loki yelled back. How dare you speak to our great father that way? Roswise, the Virgin Valkyrie, moved forward. Loki tore his glare from Odin and directed it at Roswise. You foolish child. Was it not the one you defend who forbade you from going after the one you declared your arch-enemy? Roswise gritted her teeth in confusion and anger. Loki, Odin, you in the dark thinking that's what best for you. Loki stopped for a moment, a contemplating look on his face. Yes, it's best you don't know about the events surrounding that incident. Loki, you were there that day, what happened? I have a right to know, Roswise asked, her burning curiosity taking control. Loki raised an eyebrow at her, an emotion akin to pity. Even if you know, there's nothing you can do about it, for the one you seek is eons beyond you. Loki, a long staff materialized in Odin's right hand. Enough of this old man, let's get down to business. Come forth, my beloved son. Loki let Fenrir loose on the devils. Fenrir crash-landed among the young devils, pounding on the guards and killing them instantly with its fangs or ripping them to shreds with its claws. Loki watched the chaos below with a diabolical smirk on his face. The stronger young devils all circled the wolf, intent on capturing it. The cornered wolf growled at the group. Loki smirked in the air before he felt a shift in the air and spared a sideways glance at the leaders present, the ones who actually posed a threat. A green glow surrounded him and he couldn't even complete a sentence before he disappeared with Fenrir. What the? Swish, and the god of mischief was gone thanks to the timely actions of Ajuka Beelzebub. Everyone relaxed and some let out a breath of relief. Luckily Ajuka sent him away with a magic circle before he dealt more damage. Scene change. Somewhere in Kuo, a tall blonde man knocked on a red wooden door of a normal two-terrace house. Receiving no reply, he tried again. I don't think they're in, John said beside Naruto holding Shimura's hand. Ticked off, he tried again, only this time, he almost blew the doors off its hinges, leaving a huge dent on it. He heard someone yell incoherent profanities before it was accompanied by hurried footsteps before the door was swung open by a pot-bellied bespectacled man. He glared at Naruto, not recognizing the blonde before he inspected John beside him. Recognition dawned on the man when he saw John. Why was the detective at his front door? He hoped it was a friendly visit before he saw the child between Naruto and John. He narrowed his eyes at the boy who in return flinched under the man's glare. Boy, you stayed out late again? Looks like I haven't educated you properly, he said, readjusting his glasses. Who are you gentlemen? He asked, staring at John. Naruto snorted at the bespectacled man. I'm John Hunter from Kuo Police Department. I found your son. Stepson, he corrected. John sighed and continued. Stepson lost and alone in the cold of the night. Why haven't you filed a report of a missing person? I didn't notice he was missing, was the simple reply he gave. Why you didn't notice? Do you how long? John stuttered, only to be cut off by the pot-bellied man. Come in, Shimura. Looks like I'll have to re-educate you on how to be a good boy again, he said. Shimura's stepfather stretched his hand out to grab Shimura, but a lightning-fast hand with a crushing grip took a hold of his wrist. "Hold on there, Four Eyes. What's the meaning of this?" He glared at Naruto. "We are not quite done here." Another pitter-patter from behind Shimura's stepfather ruins the mood as a lavender-haired woman rushed to her husband's side. "Dear, who's—" She looked between the young adults before her eyes landed on her son. "Shimura. Where have you been?" She gripped the boy's hand and he whimpered under her callous touch. "Why did it take you so long? The grocery store is just a few blocks away." Naruto, growing increasingly tired of the charade, butted in with a snort. "Long? Do you even remember what day it is?" Shimura's mom bristled, furrowing her eyebrows at Naruto. "Listen, mister." She trailed off, expecting Naruto to give her his name. "Let go of my husband and Shimura." "Hey, are you deaf, stupid, or both?" Naruto questioned. The lavender-haired woman was quite startled, and so were the men present. "Naruto-san. That's Shimura's Ka-chan." Shimura wasn't going to let Naruto insult his beloved mother like that, even though he knew she deserved it. "Do you even remember the day you saw him last?" "I saw my son yesterday night," she said as if it was the surest thing on earth. "Is she for real?" John wondered with a sweat drop. "Those who break the rules are scum, but those who abandon their comrades are worse than scum. A mother who abandons her son is worthless scum." "Look here, I'm not talking to you, Four Eyes." Naruto gave the man his famous cold glare. "Your son was all alone in the dark, vulnerable to all kinds of things. Did you know your son went through hell and back? Did you know your son was this close to dying? Did you know it's been 3 days, 3 fucking days since your son has been unconscious? Did you know you've been a bad mother because you've been neglecting him? Did you know he still strives to win your heart, to see you stare at him with love and affection?" Whoa, I wish I had a camera. This is the longest sentence and I've ever heard from Naruto, and what's more is that it's filled with so much emotion. John gawked. Shimura's mom was visibly shocked. The blondie wasn't pulling any punches. "What do you mean neglect?" she whispered, her pupils shrinking when she realized she had been neglecting her son all these years, and she wept. She wept because of her stupidity. She wept because of her pathetic self falling hopelessly in love with a man to a point where she forgot her own son. Because that same child she neglected was by her side, wiping the tears off her face with a worried look that shouldn't be on a child's face, and she did the only thing she could to portray her feelings. She drew him closer to her arms and engulfed him in a deep hug, crying on his tiny shoulders and berating herself. Takeshi sighed and told John his story. He was happily married to his high school sweetheart before she died 2 years later of cancer. He was broken and grief-stricken, and in his misery, he met a woman going through the same thing he was going through by his side with 2 children. Sharing the same pain, they understood and comforted each other, and before he knew it, they both fell in love. He loved the kids as if they were his own, and the kids loved him as if he was their biological father. Life was good and all before he learned they were after his money and the love was all fake. They succeeded in duping him, and he was left all alone again, never to hear from the woman who told him she would always be by his side and the kids. In his suffering, he met Shimura's mom and they had a rocky start, but once again, a woman wormed her way into his heart, and this time around, she had a kid, again. He was skeptical and unwilling at first but married her nonetheless, and then, he decided to neglect the 4-year-old Shimura back then. At some point, his heart told him to give the boy a chance and not to let the experience with the other kids define Shimura, but his brain told him to ignore the child he wasn't related to. Shimura was someone else's child, he repeated. But now, he knew he was making a big mistake as his wife truly loved her son. He tried his best to make her forget about Shimura, only to realize he was a monster for trying to separate mother and child. "Shimura, I am sorry. I'm sorry for neglecting you." Takeshi worked up the nerve to apologize, which made John smile. "So I guess my work here is done." Scene change. Uzumaki Mansion. Gaia watched Martha intently as she helped her in the kitchen with the finesse of a full-fledged housewife. The little hunter grew on her after they started living together, and it's only been a week. She was well-mannered, bright, and innocent. The trinket on her neck moved around as she shifted her weight. Talking about trinkets, the mother goddess remembered the conversation she had with John and Naruto on the night Naruto fought the demon that ultimately led to the blonde agreeing, reluctantly, to letting the siblings stay in the Uzumaki mansion. Flashback. Spat out a mouthful of water. "Oi, oi, oi. What do you mean, stay with us?" he yelled, greatly perturbed. "What do you mean stay?" John questioned. "It all makes sense now. The increase in crime rates, the sinister signature I've been sensing. He's escaped," Gaia said, staring into the distance. "Oi," Naruto snapped his finger in Gaia's face. "You haven't explained yourself. Why should they stay with me?" "Naruto, maybe it's fate, but the fact you've saved John and Martha once, and dragged the demon out of a host means you're the only one capable of keeping them safe." "Well, I beg to differ. I've looked after my sister all these years just fine. We're better off alone," John said. "Guys, you heard the pig, case closed," Naruto added. "Listen, fine. John bark. Gaia tried to talk but was cut off again, and her frustration rose to extreme heights. Yeah, I have better things to do than fight off a demon. Shut up both of you. Gaia screamed uncharacteristically, making both men quiet down. Naruto went silent instantly because of the look on Gaia's face. Gaia stared at Martha. Such a young, innocent girl burdened with a fate beyond her was cruel. The one with power wasn't even using his power to help, and it was frustrating. Maybe if he knew of her fate, he'd change and start caring for the girl. After all, Naruto's a sucker for a sob story. A word with you too? Gaia said, inclining her head towards Naruto's room. John nodded, if only reluctantly, and walked towards Naruto's room. The blonde glared at Gaia before he sighed and followed nonetheless. After locking the door behind her, Gaia raised an eyebrow at Naruto. The blonde huffed and went through 3 hand signs. A faint glow surrounded the room and he flopped on the bed. John, do you even know what's after you and your sister? Something dangerous? He stated, more like asked. You guys are the last hunters left, so I can't blame you for being ignorant, she sighed. What's with this whole danger thing anyway? I killed the demon. Problem solved. Threat neutralized. A simple thank you would suffice. Naruto added the last part, glaring at John. You're strong, Naruto, but if you fought with Ashirok, I would have sensed a fight of that caliber and other go. Naruto coughed, stopping her from revealing her identity. Other powerful beings would have sensed it too. She finished beating herself mentally. That thing was pretty weak, Gaia. What kind of ability did it display? It could stretch its arms and use magic circles, Naruto remarked. I see, maybe you might as well have added to their problems. Hey, what did I do? Ashirok is an old demon, as old as some of the most powerful beings out there. Naruto raised an eyebrow at that. That thing was as old as some gods? It was so powerful it was deemed immortal and indestructible. Only powerful beings in the supernatural world could go toe-to-toe with it, so they split it into 4, with each body possessing a portion of its full power, and if a body is killed, the power moves to the closest body, making that body much stronger. An unwritten rule was made not to kill it, so the best action against it was to either capture it or seal it. Now, that demon is after your sister, and he now possesses half of his power in a single body, all thanks to him. She pointed a finger at Naruto. I didn't know something like that would happen. You're not at fault here, you just did what anyone in your shoes would do without prior knowledge on the demon. So what you're saying is that an ancient demon is after me and my sister, why? John inquired. The Hunter clan was the only clan that were well versed in fighting the demon and is said to possess the weapon that was used to split it into 4 different bodies. Ashirok swore vengeance on your clan before he was sealed. A prophecy concerning this was popular in the old day but is now lost to legend. In the distant future, the bane of the hunter shall rise again. The bane will take a bride of the hunter. The hunter shall become the hunted. I still remember it like yesterday. Gaia recited the prophecy. So in a nutshell, this thing is going to marry Martha? Naruto said, earning a glare from John and a punch from Gaia. And then you came along, a human that can drag Ashirok out of its victim. I think fate brought you here for a purpose. Peefed, fate, that bitch just can't get over me. Naruto jumped up from the bed. How can I protect my sister, Gaia-san? I'll do anything. I'll lay down my life to keep her safe. I'll be your slave forever. No problem then. I can't guarantee I'll keep you safe, but I'll try. After all, I can only protect what's right in front of me. Alright, Naruto. You're not doing this alone. If there's any way I can help. The sword used to divide Ashirok will be of great aid in our possession. Unfortunately, I don't know where it is, but I've seen it once when I was a kid. Okay, for now, your mission is to find that sword, John. What about me? You'll be our knight. A knight, I like it. John looked between Naruto and Gaia and couldn't help but thank them from the bottom of his heart. Thank you both. If we survive this, I'll owe you a debt of a lifetime. Yeah, you do, John. Naruto, flashback end. Gaia-san, it's all done. Martha beamed. Oh, that was fast. It was ready minutes ago. You seemed deep in thought and I didn't want to disturb you. Gaia chuckled before she pushed Martha down on a chair and sat on the other one across the table. She smiled at her and dug in, commenting on her cooking skills. What about them? Martha asked, pointing her chopsticks at Naruto and John, who were having the battle of their life. Finally, a worthy opponent. I will not be defeated on my day off. Gaia watched both boys push each other around, hitting their respective controllers rapidly. Both men, when serious, are a sight to behold, but when a controller is in their hands, they are back to being teenagers. Nah, I don't think food is important to them right now. Scene change. Somewhere in Europe. This is depressing. 2 green orbs blinked as Fair Fingers hit the power button, putting his phone to sleep mode. The increase in crime rate was alarming and a few kids at the church were affected too, and that was a big no-no for him. Nobody messes with the kids in the church. He dipped his hands into his pocket and pulled out a muffin of all things before he entered the rundown building. The man scratched his blonde hair as he walked into the building, munching on the muffin with a satisfied look on his face, ignoring the bloodstains and disembodied parts on the floor. He walked into the dark rundown building filled with the stench of evil without a worry. The blonde-haired man opened his palms and light energy sizzled into life on his hands, illuminating the room. He whistled, looking around, seeing the stairs beside the wall, and followed the path the stairs led to. An old ringtone garnered his attention as he dug his hand into his pocket and fished out his phone. "MN fellow MN," he said while munching on a good chunk of the muffin in his hand. "Dulio, I thought I told you this was a co-op?" a voice from the other end of the phone yelled. "I know, but it'll take a while for me to get used to working with her," he replied and took another bite from the snack. "I swear I'm going to ban muffins." The blonde-haired man, now named Dulio, cut the lady off and switched off his phone. Nobody, and he meant nobody, threatens muffins in his presence. The logical side of him told him to wait for reinforcement, but the wild side told him to go see how powerful the so-called SS-rank demon was. With his mind made up, he took a deep breath and yelled, "Hello, Mr. Evil? Where are you?" The man literally stumbled in the dark while searching for the so-called Mr. Evil. He sighed before he created a circle with his hands and blew air into it, creating a huge bubble that burst into tiny bubbles as they flew around the Colosseum, lighting it up. The bubbles gathered around a fedistance and his eyes widened to epic proportions when he saw who it was, his mother. "Hello, son," she replied. Mother, is tea that you? How is this peepo possible?" Dulio stuttered, his lips quivered as he drew closer to her. Tears threatened to fall off his face. His mother had her hands wide open with the warmest smile on her face. Dulio stood there, his muscles paralyzed, and his mother walked up to him within his personal space. She held him in a tight embrace before she coughed up blood and looked below. Dulio's hands went through her heart and out. "Cut the illusion crap and come out and face me like a real man, demon," he said, fishing out another muffin as the entire Colosseum shook lightly and disintegrated into dust. "You've been a bad demon, but messing with the kids in the church was your biggest mistake," he said before he clapped his hands and sent out an all-direction wave of light energy. A purple mist-like demon screeched as it shielded itself with its hands. "Sacred Gear-bearer," it hissed. "How is this possible?" it asked. "What? You are one of the winged soldiers of heaven, yet you have a sacred gear," it said, as it sized up the reincarnated angel. "Who are you?" "Oh, 'tis I, a reincarnated angel, the Knight of Righteousness, a soldier of heaven, the church's strongest exorcist, your doom, your end. I am here to exorcise you, demon fiend." "Damn, that sounds corny," he whispered the last part to himself. "Well then, reincarnated angel, the Knight of Righteousness, a soldier for heaven, the church's strongest exorcist, we will take your body till we have the perfect host in our hands." Dulio actually clapped, beaming before he replied with an upbeat attitude, "Impressive, you managed to get all my titles at first try. As a way to show my gratitude, I'll make this quick and painless." As the demon made haste to grab Dulio, a building-sized hurricane materialized instantly, shielding its user before a wave of dark energy tore through it, and as soon as it neared Dulio, it froze. It was literally frozen, it was iced. Dulio punched the now frozen dark stream, making it shatter in an instant, sending pieces of ice shards around. "Impressive, I thought you would have been an ice statue by now," Dulio commented before the demon launched itself while screeching at him. A brief bout of close-range combat occurred between man and demon, which tore half of the building before the demon scored a punch in. It socked Dulio right in the face, and as he was launched into the air, 4 purple tendril-like arms busted through the ground trying to squash him. He dodged them all with an amazing display of skills but coughed up blood as soon as he touched the ground. The demon smirked before it launched one of its arms, extending it to great length. Dulio sighed before he wiped off the blood on his face, totally ignoring the incoming huge hand, which had a magic circle with a huge buildup of magic power in its palm. "I wish I had an illusion base ability like that guy in the hero faction." Dulio disappeared, and a moment later, he was right in front of the demon, 10 white wings spread out, a huge-ass light spear in his hand before he threw it at point-blank range, piercing through the demon's body. It coughed up purple blood, staring at its limp limb behind Dulio before it turned to dust. "Sacred Gear-bearer, you think you might have won, but this is just the beginning," it said before it exploded in flames. Dulio stood in the air, wings spread out, staring at the demon as it went through a metamorphosis of sorts. It now had a humanoid form with 2 purple horns on its head. The strongest exorcist narrowed his eyes at it, seeing a huge amount of condensed magic gathering between its horns. "Absolute eraser," it intoned before it fired the ball at high speeds. Dulio knew instantly that the little ball spelled danger, so he grew 12 golden wings and had 4 halo on his head. He stretched his hand forward and created a massive light spear and a humongous bubble before the entire building went white. Boom! A huge black mushroom cloud could be seen in the distance. Dulio stood there, feeling a bit winded due to all the destruction they both caused. "Now I call foul. Having 4 of those thrown around might be dangerous," he said, losing all the cheer in his voice before all hell cut loose. "Now, it's payback time." All basic 5 elements clashed around, gathering together in front of his hands, taking the form of a drill. He created a massive amount of light energy and stabbed it into the chaos of elements. "I call this the super-duper certified spear of doom. Corny, isn't it?" he remarked before he reared his hands back and thrust it forward. The demon countered with another absolute eraser and both techniques fought for dominance, but the light spear proved superior. An explosion later and half of the purple flaming demon was all that was left, and it was regenerating its lost body parts instantly. Light bubbles appeared around it before they covered together, trapping it in a huge bubble where it was subjected to mini natural disaster after disaster. A perfectly placed light spear to the chest had the demon hanging in the air and an unamused Dulio staring at it. "It's true, you are one tough," Dulio said, before he performed his killer move. Placing a hand on the demon's heart, his sacred gear went into overdrive and bent the climate to his will, super freezing everything near his vicinity before he summoned a light spear filled with so much holy energy, it was shining. The creepy thing was that the demon, who just showed power equal to an ultimate class, devil, was smirking at him. Dulio knew the fight was too easy but went on with his plan anyways. The sooner the better. As soon as the light spear was complete, the demon was already frozen in and out. He drew the spear back, holding it at its center, before he released some fast, powerful jabs at the demon and leapt into the air before he thrusted with all his might and ran his spear through the frozen statue, breaking it instantly. He released a sigh after his handiwork and dusted his hands. No more demon problem. He smiled before he powered down to his human form and brought out a muffin. A phone call interrupted him before he could eat the muffin. "Gabriella, Dulio. What the hell happened? I could feel your energy all the way from here." "Listen, Gabriella, it's Gabriel, same thing. You can sleep, assured that the demon is no more," he said with a smug smirk on his face. "What? The demon, causing the kids at the church's orphanage to misbehave. I killed it," he chuckled. "What the fuck?" Gabriel calmed her nerves as best as she could. "Angels don't curse," she repeated like a mantra. His expression slowly turned from a smile to a horror-stricken one. Gabriel almost cursed, and that was a sign tantamount to Armageddon for him. "Dulio, do you know what you just did? You're going to Japan. You just created a huge mess and now you have to clean it with a group of devils and a human living in Kuo, and you're taking her with you." "What? I'm not used to working with her, and did you just say a human? Is he a Longinus welder? Do I have to do this?" "You leave for Japan tomorrow morning. You will work with Lucifer's peerage to help capture the SS rank demon, a Shirak. The same demon you just killed." "Yes ma'am," he said like a defeated son. I just can't believe you sometimes," Gabriel groaned. Dulio cut the phone call. "Now I have to leave my cute kids behind," he lamented before he left the area. Swish, a white-haired angel landed beside Dulio. "I thought you said you were going to wait for me?" She pouted and tried to punch Dulio. "Saddle up, Agatha, we are going to Japan." "Yes sir," Agatha yelled before she tripped and fell. Scene change. The next day, in a coffee shop. "Why am I even here in the first place?" Naruto asked himself, staring at his reflection in the glass wall with narrowed eyes. "Come on Naruto, don't be like this, you have to help me." He glared at John. "How'd I help you?" John sighed, laying his head on the table. "I'll treat you to ramen." Naruto went silent before he assumed a thoughtful expression. Very tempting." Naruto was distracted when a commotion occurred in the coffee shop. A man in his late 20s was being slapped in the face repeatedly by a green-haired woman who then grabbed his shirt. The humans in the shop tried to defuse the situation, but the woman was having none of that and kept on accusing the man of sexual harassment. The police officer in John springs into action and he makes his way through the crowd, flashing his superpower at anyone who is preventing him from making his way to the issue. He made it to the center of the commotion and separated the two before he flashed his badge at the lady. The lady was delighted to see John and demanded the man be brought to justice. At that moment, Naruto thought it appropriate to intervene. He appeared behind the woman all of a sudden and started asking questions. "So, let me get this straight. This man grabbed you inappropriately, right?" "I swear I didn't." "Yes, you did. He's been stalking me for the entire week." "That was because I wanted to ask you out." This was said in a voice below a whisper, but Naruto heard anyway. "Well, you are not wrong, but did he really grab your ass?" Naruto asks the green-haired woman. "Are you calling me a liar?" "Yes. Look here, tall handsome man." "John, he's innocent." "How did you know?" John questioned before the owner of the store came in with evidence to prove the man was innocent. The security camera showed it all. Everyone gave the green-haired woman stares while some even moved to comfort the man, and a woman outright told him she would date him. "I'm outta here, John. I had to go visit the park," Naruto said and made his way out. John stared odd, thinking about Naruto's special abilities. "Wait up, Naruto," he yelled, chasing after the blonde. His gift would prove very useful for future investigations. Scene change. The underworld. To defeat Loki, Odin will return north to retrieve Mjolnir, but Ajuka says he can only keep Loki at bay for a day. If Loki recovers and comes back, we will have to fight him head-on. Azazel explained to Rias, Sona, and their respective peerages. "Just a day?" Rias exclaimed. "He's a god after all," Sona said. If the Devil King class member of each side moves to fight, another war might break out. Yes, and that will trigger the beginning of the end. It's going to take some time before Odin can send Mjolnir, and the seal keeping Loki at bay would have been long broken by then. The young devils had an idea, and it was a pretty risky one. "Please, let me see the Lucifer," she requested. "So you intend to slow him down?" Searsex asked his little sister. "I can only send 10 people to fight Loki at one time, and even with rest, I will only be able to send one more person afterwards. It will be a difficult mission." "I understand the danger. Seems like others also want to volunteer," Serafal, who came back after she heard the news of Loki, said. Sona and her peerage, which currently consisted of 1 bishop and 1 pawn, entered the room. "2 people have already been chosen from the Angel faction and the Norse faction. We don't have time to waste on choosing." "From our side," Michael said, and on cue, Irina appeared behind the strongest archangel. "The Norse faction has already chosen someone to accompany you lot," Azazel replied. "Look, Hyodo," Saji yelled, calling Issei's attention as they both leered at Rosweiss in her Valkyrie armor. Both pawns were reprimanded by their respective kings. Issei, Kiba, Rias, Kaneko, Sona, Saji, Tsubaki, Rosweiss, Akeno, Irina, and Xenovia all stood on a teleportation circle in front of their respective leaders, and after a vote of confidence, Ajuka Beelzebub teleported them to where he sent Loki. And now, the bunch of kids were staring at what was potentially their death, held down by a triangular seal, and the seal itself couldn't hold Loki for long, and before they knew it, a crack appeared on it. "He's coming," Sona warned. The seal shook as it levitated in the air, and the seal thought to be triangular was actually diamond-shaped. With a flex of his godly power, the seal was shattered to bits, and Loki stood in the air, in all his godly glory, staring at the angel, Valkyrie and devils below with disdain. Beelzebub, playing such dirty tricks, in an alternate universe, a green-haired baby in a wrestle with a beetle, the size of a pinky, sneezed violently when he tried to get his brown-haired father to use the Zebel spell on his behalf. "Lord Loki, baring your fangs at our great father is unforgivable. You should voice your opinion through the proper channels." Rosweiss yelled, trying to reason with the god of mischief, but the big bad wolf was having none of that. "I heard you have talent, child, but your power is far from a god's. You all are too weak for the opening act of Ragnarok." 3 beams of light struck the ground below, and out came Fenrir and its children, Hattie and Skoll. Loki scoffed with a smirk on his face as he raised his hand, and a huge beam hit the ground again, and out came Midgardsormr, one of the great 5 dragon kings, the largest dragon in existence, the serpent of Midgard. It had a scar running from under its left eye through the eyelids before it stopped at the tip of its left ear. Though it's an imitation using a dragon king as a base, it's still very powerful, so approach with caution, Rosweiss warned. The devils knew they were no match for Loki and sought to buy time till Odin sent Mjolnir their way. "You will regret fighting a god," Loki yelled before he sent his creations at the devil group and stayed behind watching the fray like the big boss he was. Bucko, Kaichu, Issei and Saji asked for permission, earning a nod from their kings. "Promotion, Queen." They both yelled, and the effect was instantaneous. Their magic reserves increased along with their durability and speed. Issei activated his balance breaker, Scale Mail, and Saji activated his sacred gear, and both devils ran off to face the enemies. Issei appeared in front of Loki in the air, and the god was amused to see the current generation's Red Dragon Emperor. He snapped his finger, creating a magic circle that shot off beams of light. Issei easily swats the incoming projectile with ease. "This is nothing compared to a fire-breathing dragon," he yelled and charged at Loki. Loki smirked and snapped his finger. Fenrir jumped from behind him and tackled Issei to the ground, but luckily, Kiba and Xenovia chased it away before it could sink its fangs into Issei. "Sordo Barsa!" Kiba yelled, stabbing his sword to the ground, creating a continuous stream of different swords rising from the ground. Xenovia followed up by swinging Durandal, releasing a crescent-shaped light energy at Fenrir. Both attacks immobilized it, and Issei upped the oomph with a dragon shot, and Kaneko finished things up by using the power granted to her by her evil piece, the super strength of a rook, and axe kicked the god-killing wolf on the head. "Thanks, Kiba, Xenovia and Kaneko. So, this must be our opponent." Rias, Sona, Akeno, and Tsubaki all stood a distance away from the great serpent. Akeno started things off by shooting a yellow lightning bolt at the Dragon King, which did literally nothing to it. Its tough scales absorbed it all. The imitation stretched its mouth wide open and spewed out flames, and the devils retreated. Though one devil stood her ground, braving the intense flames. "Let's send those flames back, shall we?" she replied before conjuring a mirror which absorbed all the flames and returned it back to the Dragon King, scoring a point. Tsubaki's sacred gear, Mirror Alice, has the ability to absorb any attack. After absorbing the attack, it shattered and returned it back at twice its original power. "It's time for me to show you the results of my training," said Rias before she which then shot off a huge stream of the power of destruction. I, as well, Sona said before creating an ice dragon, the size of the Dragon King's imitation. The dragon bit down on the Dragon King and this only riled it up further as it struggled to break free. It raised its body temperature, effectively killing the ice dragon. Irina and Roswise fought off Hattie and Skull, while Issei, Kiba, Xenovia and Kaneko fought Fenrir. Loki watched them fighting his creations and was impressed that they held out so far. He saw a blue rope in his peripheral vision and moved to avoid it. Carelessness is the greatest enemy, Norse god, Saji yelled, retracting his rope like sacred gear. My opponent is a weakling among weaklings, Loki mocked. You'll get burned if you underestimate a weakling, Saji quipped. Don't make me laugh, Loki replied. The Norse god rained a hail of light beams, almost like a machine gun from a magic circle on Saji. Saji, Issei yelled, getting distracted as Fenrir moved in for the kill. Issei's senpai, Kaneko yelled, and if she was a second late, Fenrir would have sunken its fangs into Issei. Looks like the wolf wants to eat Issei badly. Kaneko punched it away in time though. Roswise created a magic circle which took most of the brunt of Loki's attack, protecting Saji in the process. He sighed in relief seeing Roswise. Akano and Tsubaki took down Midgard Sormer with a combo attack and the rest of Loki's creations were out for the count. He levitated in the air without a worry and even handed out compliments to them in a degrading manner as always. Lord Loki, think this over. I'm sure the All-Father would still forgive you. Forgive me? Get real, Valkyrie. I'm the one trying to fix his mistakes, Loki replied before he thought something up with a smirk. If you defeat me here and no, if you put a scratch on me, I will tell you what happened on that day. Roswise gritted her teeth, trying to remain rational. What's wrong? Are you not confident of your abilities or have you taken everything at face value? Dear child. Loki taunted with a smirk and it worked as Roswise charged at him. They both engaged in a brief bout of taijutsu but Loki just danced around her attacks before he grew bored and kicked her away with great force. The god of mischief snapped his fingers and a huge beam of light from above struck Roswise. He smirked before his danger senses went blaring when he saw numerous magic circles in the air and a teleportation circle at the center of it all behind him. Roswise came out of the teleportation circle and all the magic circles fired off at the same time. Impressive, Loki said as he snapped his fingers, creating the same amount of magic circles, and fired off his own attack. Loki's barrage proved superior and he had to create another magic circle by raising his palms towards the incoming wave of light magic and light spear. He raised his head up and the power of destruction was already a millisecond away from him. He replied with another magic circle again. Controlling 3 magic circles circle at the same time, Akano said, awed by the power of the god of mischief. Loki stood in the air with a smug smirk still present on his face before he actually gave Roswise his full attention, seeing a huge magic circle below the ground she stood on. That technique. Do you think you can pull it off? You will only disgrace her even further if you fail, he said staring at her. Loki knew the technique all too well and has been on the receiving end of it once and it brought back memories, bad memories. The technique required time to charge up. Loki braced himself when Roswise crossed her finger and conjured a lot of magic circles, all of which then shot beams of light and shot off white beams from it. You refuse to use your ace yet, or is it taking longer than expected? Loki replied as he cut through the light beams with his fingers. He noticed a blue rope wrapped around his hand and traced it back to Saji. He scoffed and tried to free his hand from the rope but found out he couldn't. Sensei, whatever you're doing, it requires time, right? I'll hold him down for you, Saji said. Alright, Saji, Issei yelled. Impossible, I can't just tear it off, Loki exclaimed, quite surprised. Azazel Sensei tweaked it up for me and implanted all the Vitra-type sacred gear in me. Saji's sacred scared gear underwent a transformation and he now had shin and elbow guard on while the ropes caught flames. The flames of the Dragon King Vitra, Loki noted before he gasped when Roswise's magic circle emanated a bright light. He knew what was coming and formed a huge defensive shield. I won't let you, Issei yelled, bulldozing his way through Loki's defense with a fully powered dragon shot. Loki's shield was entirely wiped out of existence off and he glared at Issei and Roswise. A huge beam of light magic shot up from where Roswise was, threatening to swallow Loki whole. The god took the full brunt of the attack and white while filled his vision. Loki smiled, a small smile that projected his bloodlust. You piece of trash. He would admit it but these weaklings forced him to use his godly powers. Saji's sacred gear was snuffed out instantly and Loki looking stood in the light beam unfazed, protected by his godly aura covering of his powers, and then it happened. Lightning flashed around and a strong gravitational pull galaxy uprooted the earth. Lord Loki, you can't, if you do that, not only the underworld but the supernatural world would be affected, the Valkyrie yelled. It will only speed the coming of Ragnarok. The Ragnarok-obsessed god yelled, stretching his hands at the devils below and unleashed huge ice shards on them. That was my plan from the start, Loki told the devils. Everyone took cover from the harsh weather. What's he planning to do? Rias asked. He plans to release his godly powers and destroy this space. What the? The harsh weather halted all of a sudden, it stopped. Loki got serious and conjured 3 magic circles, one above the other, and generated light magic through it. He took aim at the sky and shot it. He rained light beam after light beam on the devils. A wide-range skill that destroyed the entire topography of the space they were in. Saji and Kiba were the only ones seriously injured, while some of them had a defensive counter, but taking another attack like that would surely take them down to them in. They healed their comrades with the Phoenix tears and regrouped for one last assault before Roswise shared the good news. We've made it on time. What is that? Issei asked. A magic circle appeared in the sky and out came the mighty hammer, Mjolnir. A message from Lord Odin: if the Red Dragon Emperor is there, then leave it to him. She relayed Odin's orders to the group. Mjolnir, Loki thought upon seeing the mighty hammer once again. Damn you, Odin! He yelled infuriated and made a mad dash towards Mjolnir but was pulled down by Saji. Issei flew towards Mjolnir with hope, now that their victory was assured, but felt pain coursing through his body. Fenrir had finally snuck its fangs into the treat it had its eyes on. The look on their face transformed from hope to horror as Fenrir landed on the ground and dragged Issei's body on the earth before he threw him away like a rag doll. Issei. They all moved to intercept Fenrir while Rias rushed to his side. B-Bucko. Don't speak. Rias placed his head on her lap and placed a hand on his wound, trying to stop the bleeding in vain. I'm sorry, I messed up again at the most important time, he managed to wheeze out. Don't die on me, Issei. The ruined princess was openly crying like a baby, begging Issei not to leave her. The hammer Mjolnir erect was on the ground, a few feet away from him, and Issei made a grabbing motion for the last time before his hands went limp and he seemingly died. Hyodo, no way. Saji whispered, in despair, going down on his feet. The shock was too much for him. His friend, his rival, was dead. His peerage members had tears in their eyes and their thirst for vengeance fueled them as they attacked with such ferocity. Fenrir stood no chance. The Red Dragon Emperor was the only one strong enough to wield Mjolnir. What do we do now? Roswise lamented. Loki slapped Saji away with a magic circle and sighed with content. Ragnarok will begin soon. Perish with the twilight of the end. He said and glowed a non-eerie white before the space they were in distorted. He stopped when a red aura covered Rias. Evil god Loki. How dare you? My Issei is dead because of you. The power of destruction burst forth from her body. Loki tilted his head and frowned at Rias. Such strong and passionate thoughts. So this is the little sister of Lucifer. He thought before his gaze shifted to Mjolnir. Fenrir, destroy that despicable hammer with your fangs. He ordered, only to see Fenrir had been immobilized by white chains from a magic circle underneath it. What's the meaning of this? Loki asked no one in particular. The magic chainskein of Gleipnir. Why is it here? Roswise wondered out loud. Because we prepared them, NYA. Kuroka appeared via a magic circle, sitting on a cliff. Scene change. Earth. Why'd I get the feeling Kuroka is busy playing the villain? Naruto wondered while tutoring Martha. The girl was pretty good. What? Naruto sucked in oxygen. Don't worry about it, Martha. Back in the underworld. How dare a devilman from the far west stop me? Loki yelled and fired off light beams at Kuroka, which was swatted away by Arthur. Lord Loki, we will be taking Fenrir with us, Arthur said as Fenrir appeared behind them. He stabbed his holy swordward into Fenrir's head and gained control over it. Sharon, that form, looks like you have finally accepted your powers. I'll never be like you, Nei-san. There's so much I want to tell you, but the timing is always wrong. Kaneko narrowed her eyes at her older sister. Just know that everything I did, it was to keep you safe, she said. Damn you, White Dragon Emperor. So you were after Fenrir's fangs all along. Loki cut the family melodrama short. It's your fault for being fooled. Kuroka gave one last reply before they disappeared. Boost. Loki turned his gaze and met a fully healed Issei holding Mjolnir. You, how? Go Issei. Damn, this hammer is so heavy. The hammer is heavy, but I can do this. Loki tried to run away from Issei, but the devils didn't let him, and Saji said held him down again, this time with 2 ropes. Let's go, hammer, Issei yelled and reared the hammer back. Boost. Transfer. The hammer grew humongous and Issei swung it at Loki. Damn you, Red Dragon Emperor. Damn you, Odin, Loki raged. The hammer made contact with Loki and the sealing process began. As the seal was almost complete, Loki put up Onia last act and cursed Issei and Rias. They both felt a chill but disregarded it in favor of celebrating their victory. Though Issei was unable to, as he fainted after the whole ordeal of the day. After all, he almost died. Scene change. The next day, Naruto and Martha were coming back from a date. Yes, a date. A date Naruto proposed to cheer her up. After the skirmish with Ashirik, Martha rarely went out, and if she did, Naruto always had a clone talking to her, and even then, she didn't venture out far or for long. So he decided to take her out just so she could have catch some fun. What Martha found weird was that Naruto had an orange fur coat on with sunglasses. At the same time, Issei and Akeno were on a date, running away from a group of stalkers. As they made a left, they stopped to take a breather. "I think we've lost them," Issei said. "Now I have you all to myself." Akeno entered his personal space and started to stroking his chin. Rias, Kaneko, Asia, Zenovia, and Gasper chased Chad after Issei and Akeno when the duo ran off all of a sudden, which meant one thing: they have been made. "I think they took a right," Rias yelled and increased her speed, going ahead until she hit a solid wall of flesh and bone and rebounded off it. Her generous butt hit the floor and she had to rub it to ease the pain. "I'm sorry I didn't see you coming," Rias apologized before she raised her head to see the man she currently hated the most, Naruto Uzumaki. "Bat," Naruto said, his words dripping with disdain and contempt. He moved past her and held Martha's hand in his. "Naruto ni, that was one of the two great Oni-samas," Martha shrilled. "What? That looks like a bad influence to me. Just ignore them." Rias gritted her teeth. Naruto wasn't whispering. Her peerage held their breath, filled with worry because an encounter between with both female devil and human doesn't end well. "Hey, Naruto Uzumaki," Rias yelled. Naruto completely ignored her and placed Martha's hand into his fur coat's pocket. "If you bumped into someone, the least you can say is sorry. It's common courtesy, Naruto." Naruto scoffed. "What do you know about manners, Bat? And that is Naruto-sensei to you," he said, still walking away. If there was one thing about Naruto that Rias hated the most, it was his cocky attitude. He acted like he owned the place, like he could do whatever he wanted and no one would challenge him, but she was going to prove him wrong. Issei and Akeno arrived on the scene. Hearing Rias yell Naruto's name was a bad sign, and if the blonde was close, then a disaster was already brewing. They arrived hearing Rias's words. "I challenge you to a rating game, Uzumaki Naruto." Everyone present gawked. Even Martha. Though she had no idea what it meant, but the word challenge gave her a vague understanding. Naruto stopped in his tracks and chuckled. It started with a snort before it turned into a full-blown chuckle. "Ho! The bat finally grows a spine to challenge the fox. Too bad though, don't fight weaklings." Still riding from the high of defeating a Norse god, Rias gave a witty reply. "I think it's the other way around." "Ah, bucko, what are you saying?" Issei questioned with a strained smile as he held Rias back. Hyodo, you have to put a nozzle on her, or else, she's going to die with that kind of cocky attitude one day." "What?" Rias yelled. "It's a fact," Naruto quipped. Rias Nashegan shed her teeth with pure fury. The blonde was going to get it today. A magic circle slowly formed in front of her. Red Dragon Emperor, fancy meeting you here," Odin yelled. "What's up with the hostile air around you brats?" he asked, walking towards them with Barachil in tow. He noticed a spike in Rias' magic level and sensed a shift in the air, but ignored it, thinking it was his old age playing tricks with him. Rias shifted her gaze back to where Naruto was, only to meet thin air. "Huh? I could have swear he was here right now." "Who? Never mind," Rias replied before she stomped all the way back home. Uzumaki Mansion. John jumped when Naruto and his little sister appeared in a flash. Martha stood in the living room in a trance-like state before Naruto snapped her out of it by snapping his fingers near her ear fingers. "Huh, what happened? Where's Rias? I wanted to say hi to Issei when everything blurred all of a sudden." Martha looked around the unfamiliar space before she recognized it was Naruto's living room. "When did he get here?" she asked with great confusion. "You just experienced space-time jutsu, or in other words, instant teleportation." Naruto chuckled before he activated the security seals in the house. Scene change. Night. Hyodo Shiadu's house. "Wow, Roswise-san, you're good." Asia complimented the Valkyrie who was teaching them how to solve their homework. The whole gang was present on the second floor and Rias was in a corner sulking. "What's wrong with bucko? Gasper quest D Naruto-sensei don't exactly see eye to eye," Issei chuckled. "Why? Is Naruto-sensei a bad guy?" "Nope, not at all. He helped us defeat Kokebiel, remember?" "I see." Roswise joined in on the conversation going on between Issei Issues and Gasper, wanting to know more about Naruto. "What is he? I couldn't sense anything from him, and he's 100% human, right?" "What is Naruto Uzumaki?" Issei stopped for a moment to ponder on how to answer the Valkyrie. "Well, let's just say, he's an enigma." "An enigma?" "He's someone with a wide range of special abilities with no sacred gear, no magic talent or whatsoever, and for some reason, we can't enter his house unless he's at home." Akeno, besides Issei, told Roswise. The devil group once tried to infiltrate his house when he wasn't in to gain information about him, but that didn't end well. The blonde's house was protected by a force field of sorts. It's like there's a barrier stopping us from entering, Ria said, gritting her teeth. Teleportation circle doesn't work, if you were wondering, she added. When they tried entering with teleportation circles, they were pushed away violently. So his house is tightly secured, Roswise concluded. Azazel walked into the living room with a frown on his face. Why did you challenge him to a rating game? I thought I told you not to provocate him in any circumstances. Azazel, this is my territory and 2 dragons can't fly in the same sky. Clearly, this girl hasn't heard of Great Red and Ophis, or Diedrich and Albion, or Son Goku and Vegeta. He's not someone you can touch, stay away from him, Rias. If you have a problem with him, report it to me. Naruto was currently a posse of sorts to the devils in the mission to bring the Shirak back to prison. This of course is with an ulterior motive. To know the blonde's abilities and to try to extend a hand of friendship or partnership to the strange blonde. Also, the fact that he can drag a Shirak out of a human host and kill the demon made him a key person in the capture of a Shirak. You steer clear of him. That's an order. Rias bit her lips, reluctant to follow orders, but caved in under Azazel's glare. Rias's peerage watched as Azazel stared their king down. Whoa, is he that dangerous? Gasper asked. He once beat me near death just to forcefully activate my balance breaker. Issei told them, recalling the one week training he had and how he came close to death several times. Really? Roswise asked, disbelief all over her face. There was one time he burst into a training ground I was in and his presence was suffocating. It was as if death pricked my neck with its sharp claws. Kiba described his experience with the blonde. Kaneko nodded because she was the first to experience Naruto's ki. Goosebumps appeared all over Rias, remembering the hallucination Naruto put her under. Maybe she was too rash challenging him to a rating game. And he's quirky, but don't worry, you'll get used to it, Issei said. I see, all Roswise could gather was that he was dangerous and powerful. Uzumaki Mansion, achoo, Naruto sneezed violently. Dinner's ready. Martha yelled. Naruto joined the 2 human Saiyumans and the goddess on the table. His seat as the head of the family and second youngest was empty as always. He sat in it and grabbed a spoon. Itadakimasu, they all chorused croused as they dug in. They almost looked like a family that day and Naruto was happy he decided to let the hunters stay with him, but as always, he couldn't shake off the nagging feeling that things were going to go south sooner or later, but for now, he was going to enjoy life and deal with the demon when it comes for Martha. Chapter 15. USO, Bacana. It was 6 a.m. in the morning and a blue alarm clock woke a certain blonde up. The holidays were over and it was time to go to work. Time to go brave a sea of hormone-crazed teenagers with new clothes, new goals, and a new attitude. It was the beginning of a new term. Scene change. Kuo Academy. Whoa, Tenshi-sama. He's so handsome. Ah, Naruto-sama. As expected, he's smoking hot. Is that his girlfriend? Lucky blondes, damn bastard? Naruto facepalmed. Some things never get old. Just ignore them, Naruto sighed. Naruto and Martha walked the hall in tow. The female hunter had the standard female Kuo Academy uniform on with a black backpack on her back. She packed her platinum blonde hair neatly into a high ponytail and a fringe covered her forehead entirely, some stray strands casting a curtain over her left eye. 2 long curly bangs framed the side of her face. She had no makeup on, but she was still turning heads. Martha moved closer to Naruto, nervous under the stares of the male students. Just ignore them, Marie, Naruto told her. Ah, okay. Naruto took her straight to the admin building. First period. Class 3B, it is with great joy I tell you brats that I am no longer your homeroom teacher. Yes. The whole class chorused and went through a mini celebration of sorts with cake and birthday hats and all. But I will still be taking biology class. No, the whole class groaned. Introducing a new student will be my last act as your homeroom teacher, Naruto told the students of Class 3B. Come in. A busty girl with chestnut hair tied in twin pigtails came in and introduced herself. Hello everyone, I'm Irina Shidu. Please take care of me, she finished, smiling at Naruto. Wow, the boys yelled, very pleased with Irina's angel-like voice. Irina, Issei yelled, pointing a finger at the reincarnated angel. You bastard, Matsuda and Motohama had anime tears rolling down their faces. Issei always knew the female trends for students. Pipe down, Naruto ordered. The whole class went silent instantly. Oh, and your new homeroom teacher is, as if on cue, Roswise walked in and introduced herself. Hello students. I'm Roswise, your new homeroom teacher. Yes, the blonde was replaced by a babe, Banzai. Naruto-sensei stepping down as our homeroom teacher is the best thing to have ever happened to our class. The students cheered. Roswise had the decency to cringe while Naruto's eyes twitched uncontrollably. She offered him an apologetic smile. A teacher walking through the corridors heard the commotion going on and sighed happily. Just the man he was looking for. Naruto-san, the sports and physical education teacher quit yesterday. You're the new sports and physical education teacher. the random teacher announced. No, Class 3B groaned. Naruto gave the whole class a dark smirk. Kukuku, well, students, we will meet again, Naruto cackled, leaving the classroom while rubbing his hands. Goodbye Naruto-san. Issei and Asia waved the blonde goodbye with smiles on their face. Naruto acknowledged them with a smirk before he left. In an unknown classroom, this classroom looked more like a market than a classroom. The whole classroom was in bad shape and the students were just lounging around. The class was filled with third-year kids who were the top delinquents of the school, and some of the kids were dubbed the untouchables because of the powers their parents had. Listen class, today I'm going to introduce your new homeroom teacher. The former homeroom teacher, a pink-haired woman, was shaking in her heels. HMPH, good for you. A blue-haired boy with a Dragon Ball hairstyle, playing with Dragon Ball action figures with his legs on the table, said. The female teacher gave a strained smile before she continued. Come in, sensei. A mop of blonde hair was what the kids saw before a tall guy entered the class in an orange baggy shirt with black stripes and black pants. Oizu, I'm Uzu. A Dragon Ball figure hit Naruto's chest. Beat it, teach, the blue-haired boy yelled, laughing. The boy laughed as he ridiculed the new blonde homeroom teacher. The whole class laughed along with him before an eerie chill descended on the whole class all of a sudden. It was surreal. None of them have felt anything like it before. The kids choked on their spit as no one dared to speak. Naruto raised his head slowly before he asked, who threw that? The class dared not speak as they were afraid of Naruto's cold blue eyes searching for the kid who dared to throw an action figure at him. Hey, punk, Naruto yelled, pointing a hand at the blue-haired boy. On your feet, what's her name? The former homeroom teacher had her mouth wide open. The kid actually listened for once and it was like he was afraid of something or someone. T. Takeda, speak up you rotten piece of shit, I can't hear you. The pink-haired former homeroom teacher watched on with a sweat drop. Is it okay for him to use such degrading terms? But it's working, she thought, looking at the bright side. The blue-haired boy stood at attention, raising his hands for a salute. Tatakeda Sasuke, Daizu. Naruto's pupils dilated a fraction hearing the blue-haired boy's name. Sit down, Super Saiyan Blue. Huh? Sasuke exclaimed before he sat down with a sigh of relief. Now, listen up, you rotten kids, Class 3E, a class full of misfits. Dullards who somehow made it to the third year of high school. They were legendarily stubborn and lacked common respect and courtesy for their teachers and fellow students just cause some of them were born with a silver spoon in their mouth. The principal heard of Naruto's legendary exploits, of how he whipped Class 3B back into shape, and now, the principal hoped he could do the same with Class 3E. Thank God, Martha wasn't enrolled in this class. I think I have Martha's class last today. A Class 1 haven't taught before. Naruto was pulled out of his musing when a disco light descended from the ceiling and an auburn-haired girl brought out a huge stereo playing metal music at the loudest volume. The whole class jumped up and started dancing to the music. Good luck, Naruto-san. Their former homeroom teacher wished Naruto luck with something akin to relief on her face as she shut the door. It was as if a huge burden was taken off her shoulders, and she even grew a few feet as she walked through the halls with a confident gait. Come on, teach. The auburn-haired girl with blue eyes walked up to Naruto. She barely reached his chest up close. Why don't you relax, Ed? She dipped her hands into Naruto's pockets, whispering sensually, go get yourself a bowl of ramen, Oh, bad choice of words. Naruto Uzumaki could tolerate many things, but having a spoiled brat whisper the revered word, ramen, so sensually with bad intention was unforgivable. Asia hummed a beautiful tune as she rocked back and forth taking notes on Roswice's teachings until, you shitty brats, she heard Naruto yell as the whole school shook mightily. Earthquake, Matsuda yelled, hiding under his table. In Class 3A, the class filled with the most intelligent and well-mannered students. The teacher was elaborating on a topic before the class was disturbed by an earthquake. You shitty brats. The students of Class 3E were all on their knees with their hands up in the air. Now, repeat after me, brats. Naruto yelled, hitting the marker board with a long staff he got from God knows where. Qualities of a good student. The kids held their tongue, showing a last act of defiance. Look at these worthless punks, Naruto said, glaring at them. Repeat after me. He waved the staff threateningly. Yes, they all chorused. Qualities of a good student. Qualities of a good student. 1. Never call the name of ramen in vain in front of Naruto-sensei. Never call the name of. They stopped when their brains processed what Naruto wrote on the board. I can't hear you. Never call the name of Rev Naruto-sensei. Always listen in class. Always listen in class. Complete and submit your assignment at due dates. Complete and submit your assignment at due dates. Never. The surrounding classes peeked through the window and the front door, staring at Naruto's unorthodox way of teaching. HMPH, those weirdos, the homeroom teacher of Class 3A scoffed. Only a psycho can take on a group of psychos, Class 3C homeroom teacher remarked. Senpai? Rossweiss blinked in confusion because Naruto looked more like a drill sergeant in the army than a teacher right now, and he looked so gung-ho about it, which she found cute. Scene change. Uzumaki Mansion, Tisk. Naruto is angry, Kurama said all of a sudden. How do you know? Gaia asked. Call it a gut feeling. You know a lot about Naruto, don't you? I've been with the blondie since his mother's egg and his father's sperm united. What? Nothing. I know he wasn't always like this. What do you mean, Gaia? I mean, he wasn't always a jerk before, right? Kurama sighed with a faraway look on his face. The former Naruto was very likable. If I wanted to describe him, I'd call him a son, forgiving, nice, compassionate, sympathetic, had a strong sense of justice and a true hero. Naruto? The same Naruto we know? That was when we were in Konoha. The blonde had a huge heart and he was able to turn foes to friends, enemies to comrades, even me. A self-proclaimed hatred reincarnate, he turned me into a good guy. Naruto changed everything and everyone he touched for better, for good. When did he change? The other bijus were present to listen to Kurama talk about Naruto. I think it began around that time when we went to that place. Flashback begins. Two armored figures equipped with spears did their rounds as they strolled past, making small talk and searching around for any suspicious individuals. Their work was to guard the city gates and their station was up on the mighty golden gates of the city. As the unsuspecting guards passed through, a black-clad figure vaulted over the steel bars on the walls, landing on a crouch. The figure took cautious steps towards the end of the walls, gazing over the magnificent city. Beautiful, he whispered under his breath before sliding down the walls into the city. The black-clad being waited until another group of guards moved out of sight before he moved deeper into the city. The busy streets of the ancient city buzzed with different activities going on. Compared to the human world, this one seemed a bit medieval. The inhabitants were humanoid and they could pass as humans any day, but don't be fooled, they're way stronger than your average humans. Naruto Uzumaki walked the streets of the great city, gazing at the weird tall buildings and the clothes the inhabitants wore. Thank goodness, he wasn't the odd one out, as many wore cape around the market he was walking by. I told you I get in easily. Naruto knew Kurama heard him brag but didn't deem it fit to reply. Maybe the furball was just sleeping, cause that's what he does best. Kurama rolled his eyes in the seal at his Jinchuriki's smug attitude. Since when was Naruto smug? And when did the habit of scoffing begin? Oi Naruto, how are you going to find this ancient spell of a thing? And the last time I checked, you can't cast spells, Kurama roared using the mental link they shared. Sheesh, calm down. One problem at a time. First off, I find the spell, and two, I try to activate it or I'll find someone who can. Naruto replied with a smug smirk. Ho, what happened to him? He's gotten smarter, Kurama wondered. A little boy bumped into Naruto, putting an end to the conversation going on between him and his tenant. Are you okay? Naruto asked the little boy with a smile on his face which morphed to confusion because he couldn't understand the little boy when he answered in his native tongue. Naruto watched as the boy ran to his mother when she called. This is going to be harder than I thought, he groaned. What are you going to do now? His furry partner asked. I don't know, find a place to stay? Learn their language first. Kurama shook his head inside the seal, disappointed. And here he thought the blonde's gotten smarter, but he had gotten his hopes high for nothing. Ah, right. The blonde ninja disappeared out of sight, entering the secluded building. He crossed his fingers, creating 5 clones under a henge to look like the native people of the city. Alright guys, go learn their language, gather info and make me some money. I want info on where the ancient spell might be, the original ordered. Roger, they all saluted before they dispersed into the city. Naruto exits the secluded building, wandering aimlessly while waiting for a clone to transfer information. He stopped to watch the performers in the marketplace, joining the great crowd gathered to witness the spectacle. Magic, something Naruto thought was pure bullshit, was happening right in front of him. Ever since he was duped by a con artist claiming to be a magician when he was little, he hated magicians and denied the existence of magic. He scoffed as the leader of the performers breathed a little stream of fire. He could burn the entire marketplace with a flick of his fingers if he wanted to. And for this round, we will need a volunteer. I assure you, it's not for the faint of heart. The leader of the circus hollered. The leader set a knife on fire before he threw it with precision at a red wooden circle 7 feet away from him, which was hoisted in the air by thin air. The knife hit bullseye and the people cheered. HMPH, I could do that if I trained hard enough, Naruto pouted, referring to the floating piece of wood. The leader of the circus stared at Naruto before he laughed, seeing the look of disbelief on Naruto's face. Ladies and gentlemen, we have a volunteer, he said, pointing at Naruto. What? Naruto took a step back before the clown of the circus moved to grab him. He ducked under the huge, hideous man, running circles around him before the circus performer grabbed him. The crowd clapped as Naruto was strapped on the floating piece of wood. Stop this instant. Naruto yelled at the clown. He sighed when the clown ignored him, saying something in that weird language he couldn't understand. The leader smiled before he took out a set of throwing knives. "Relax, my dear sir," he said in his native tongue, trying to ease Naruto's struggling form, which had the opposite effect. "This is going to be over in a minute." "Don't you dare, you fake," Naruto yelled, trying his hardest to break free from the constraint when the leader brought out a set of knives, holding them up for everyone to see. The only woman in the circus threw an apple in the air, and a moment later, the apple was embedded above Naruto's head, the knife piercing through the wood. "Oh fuck," Naruto cursed when the knives in the leader's hands caught on fire. The crowd roared, some in excitement and some in fear, but they were pumped up for what was about to happen. Naruto groaned when a particular memory hit him. "Stop," he yelled in the native tongue of the people. Everyone laughed at his poor accent, thinking his fear made him forget how to pronounce properly. The leader, Fang, threw the first knife, missing Naruto's crotch by an inch. Naruto doubled his efforts, trying to break free. The woman clogged his mouth with an apple to shut him up before another knife missed his feet. Naruto groaned again as another memory hit him. "Move, make way." 4 soldiers armed with spears in the same golden armor the guards wore pushed through the crowd searching for Naruto. "That's him," a red-haired young woman glared, pointing at Naruto, crossing her hands over her bountiful chest. Naruto sighed when he recognized the woman. "God, I hate my clones sometimes," he said with a mix of anger and annoyance. The 4 soldiers rushed to apprehend Naruto. "Little help here, furball." The orange fox inside Naruto refused to help. Received silence from the mountain-sized fox. Let it be known that Kurama, the Kyuubi no Kitsune, the almighty 9-tailed fox, the demon fox, hatred incarnate, last born of the Biju family, was never one to wiggle his tails every time his Jinchuriki was in danger. Damn it all. The crowd gasped when Naruto disappeared with a poof, only to be replaced by a log. "Where is he?" one of the soldiers asked. The crowd parted and a crouched black-cloaked figure whispering a mantra of "Praise be the logs" trying to leave the crowd discreetly wasn't that hard to spot. "Get him!" Naruto yelped and ran for his dear life in an unfamiliar street while being chased after by soldiers in a foreign land. He'd better get a Medal of Honor for this in Konoha. Earlier, with a clone, hee. Naruto giggled pervertedly as he peeped on a red-haired woman taking a bath. "This is gold," he whispered like a certain white-haired Sanin would. The lady stood up from the bathtub and reached for a bar of soap, bending her waist, giving clone Naruto a perfect view of her lower assets. Naruto sported a nosebleed instantly and had a dopey look on his face. "Kekekeke. Ero Senin, I'm a believer," he yelled a little too loud. The red-haired woman jerked her head around, looking for the source of noise she heard before releasing a high-pitched shrill when she saw Naruto. "Oh boy," was the clone's last words before he poofed out of existence. Back in the present in the flashback, I am making sense, right? "Sir, he went that way." The red-haired woman pointed at where she thought Naruto ran off to. "Grr, I'll just—" Naruto yanked at his hair before he breathed out his frustration. "Useless clones." He came out from where he was hiding, dusting the precious gift Yasaka gave him. The cloak reminded him about that one time he stayed in Yasaka's room into the wee hours of the night. Well, that's a story for another chapter. Naruto did the smart thing anyone could do in a situation like this. He turned around and moved the opposite way of his pursuers. He ran for a few seconds and bumped into something strong. "Oof, watch where you're going." Naruto's words of protest died in his throat when he saw the impressive chest of the person he bumped into. He craned his neck upwards just to see the face of whom he bumped into. Ba-dump. His heart skipped a beat. When Naruto's blue orbs made contact with the handsome stranger's golden orbs, dressed in a white suit, his hands beside him trembled, and before he knew it, his body sprung into action. He hopped backwards 5 feet away from the stranger, 2 kunais in reverse grip, his body already in a defensive stance. The tall, handsome man raised an eyebrow at Naruto's behavior. "Stranger's pav. Your idea of fun is to peep on a damsel taking a bath?" I said, looking at the sapphire blue orbs of the stranger garbed in a black cloak. I found the cloak rather eye-catching. My eyebrows raised above my white golden hairline when I didn't receive a reply, nor did the blonde boy charge at me. His form was very impressive at least. "You have not answered my question," I said with a warm smile. A bead of sweat rolled down the young boy's face before he spoke in a foreign language. I'm not a pervert?" He was testing if I understood his language. Was he not one of us? "Your idea of fun is to peep on a damsel cleaning herself?" I spoke using the boy's language. His face lit up and he moved out of his defensive stance with a smile on his face, happy he found someone who understood him. I wondered where the black knives disappeared as he moved his hands behind his back. Maybe he had a pouch or something, judging from the thin strap on his thigh I saw through the open cloak. "Oh, thank God. I didn't intend to, I swear. I'm not a pervert." The boy tried his best to defend himself and I believed him. His eyes were innocent. I walked up to him and his body tensed up again. I raised my hands and patted him on the shoulder, inadvertently making him flinch. "Don't worry, my friend. It is fun when you are not caught in the act." I laughed at my own joke, but the boy was too busy gazing at my beards. I bet those white golden beards swayed every time I laughed. "Come friend, let us talk over a cup of ale." I yelled excitedly that I will once again drink ale with a new friend. The boy seemed a bit reluctant, but he followed me anyway. Scene change. In a bar. I gestured to my new friend, who was busy as always staring at everything, to take a seat. This time around, he was looking back and forth staring at everyone. He was a great contrast compared to us with his black cloak. I wish he wore something more formal, or he could at least take off the cloak. My lord, my friend, and owner of the bar we were in, greeted me. He glanced at Naruto before he turned back to me. "I see you brought in a new friend," he said with a smile. "Yeah, I met this guy in the market." I placed my hands on the blonde's shoulders, drawing his attention. We spoke in my native tongue. "Drinks on the house," Gardney, my friend, said. "Oh no, I would not want to." I tried to decline. I had enough money to buy the entire bar, but Gardney always does this when I come in with a new friend. It's more of a tradition now. "No my lord, it's all thanks to you that my bar turned into a great establishment like this. Your frequent visits made my bar very famous. This is but a small token of my appreciation, my lord," he said. I smiled and he left to go grab a bottle of ale. "You drink, my friend?" I asked, now using the language he understood. "Drink, He looked like he considered it. "Why not?" he said. I smiled with a raised eyebrow. He seemed a bit reluctant due to some reason best known to him. "I don't have money on me," he finally admitted. I made an O with my mouth before I chuckled and told him the drinks were on the house. Gardney dropped 2 cups filled to the brim with froth on the table. I chugged the contents of the cup down my throat in record time. I glanced at my friend, who did the same without a grimace, and it looked like my friend could hold his liquor, only one way to find out. I nodded at Gardney, who shook his head in return before he went into the storeroom. "What would you like to eat?" I asked my companion. "Anything. I'm not a fussy eater," he replied. "Okay then. I want the best-selling menu today," I yelled in my language. "What did you say?" he asked me. "I ordered something. Do not worry, you will like it," I told him. Gardney sure took his time because my friend was already wolfing down the food I ordered with joy before he came in with 4 barrels of ale hefted on his shoulders. I smirked as I heard everyone hoot. "Who's the unlucky one who challenged our lord to a drinking contest?" a huge man asked, making everyone laugh. "In our home, my family is known to be great drinkers, especially my older brothers." "It's his new mate," Gardney answered, letting a grunt of effort escape his mouth as he dropped the barrels. "This lanky lad," a fat man jeered. Everyone laughed and gathered around us. My friend seemed a bit uncomfortable as he shifted in his seat. Of course he would. They were pointing at him and laughing. "What are they saying?" my friend asked. "You, my friend, have been challenged to a drinking contest. There's no backing down now," I said to him with a smile. A beautiful maiden poured me a drink with a smile and did the same with Naruto, winking at him before wishing him good luck. "She wishes you good luck, but I am afraid Lady Luck will not be of help to you today, my friend. I remain undefeated in this bar," I said, drinking the entire contents of the Watan cup in a single gulp. Well, I wasn't entirely truthful. The only ones capable of defeating me are my older brothers. The younger ones are nowhere near me, though. "Oh, it's on," my friend replied with vigor and proceeded to drink everything in 2 gulps. I smiled, placing my elbow on the table before resting my jaw on my fist, raising a cup for a toast to friendship. "Amazing. They had the lanky blondes still going," the fat man said in sheer surprise. My friend glanced at him mid-gulp. I'm sure he's satisfied with the astonished look on the fat man's face as he doubled his efforts. "We have drunk 15 barrels now, and I just finished the 16th barrel the same time my friend did." "More," I yelled. 32 barrels and my friend was still drinking. Now 64, 72, 86, 99th barrel. He was still up and going. The bar today was filled with screens. The fat man lay on the ground wasted. His last words were, "This one might be lanky on the outside, but he's a beast on the inside." My friend got up, opened the last barrel and brought it to his mouth. "Oh, drink it, chug it," everyone screamed out loud. I myself was astonished when he started drinking an entire barrel. His cloak soaked with ale, not that I was complaining cause I'm, frankly, in the same state. "Ah." My friend slammed the barrel down hard enough to shatter it into pieces as soon as he finished it. "Oh yeah." The huge men in the bar swarmed him, giving nods of approval and pats. Gardney, I gave him 2 nods. "No, you don't mean," he said before I cut him off. 2 barrels, I said, holding up 2 fingers. The entire bar went silent, like someone switched the mute button on when they saw Gardney come in with 2 golden barrels. "No way," they yelled. "Congratulations, man. You've just entered an entirely different league." A random man congratulated him. The blonde star stared at the golden barrels before he shrugged and took a seat, doing a "bring it" motion with both hands. I turned my chair so I could face him and Gardney placed both barrels in front of us. I placed a wooden cup on my barrel and did the same on his. A cup. I poured myself a cup of the golden liquid and drank it all up without stopping, wiping off the golden froth away from my mouth. Do the same, I challenged with a smirk. The blondie poured himself a cupful and took a whiff of it, coughing due to its strong scent. The people laughed and everyone went silent again, all eyes on the blonde boy. He glanced from the cup to me, to everyone before stoning his face and bringing the cup to his mouth. As the golden liquid touched his tongue he winced badly and shut his eyes tight. Gulp, 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 gulp. I counted the amount of gulps it took him to finish an entire cup, gulp. 6 gulps, very impressive, very, very impressive, I thought. The people on the other hand, I'm sure the people living around the area would have heard their screams. My friend just became a legend. That's strong stuff, he said, more like he yelled. It sure is, I replied, and no more, he conceded. I win this round, I said smiling and a bit tipsy. That's some strong stuff Gardney brought in. It's a drink reserved for my family or people who have great alcohol tolerance. Alright blonde lad, care for some arm wrestling? A huge man, probably a soldier judging from the garb he wore, asked. Bring it on, my friend said with a hiccup, place your bet. I turned around to look at the youngin who said that. He's this small and already knows how to make money. I decided to place a bet on my friend, me and a lady, while the rest had their bet on the dude who challenged my blonde friend. It ended badly with the blondie out on top. Others challenged him but they all failed. Who's next? He screamed in a fashion I never thought he could. Maybe the golden ale was messing with his head. I think he is high. I thought seeing him wobble on his feet as he did a victory dance. I raised an eyebrow when everyone stared at me as if saying, kick his ass, show him his place. I relented nonetheless. Better get this over with. I felt sorry for my friend cause there's no way he could win. With a sigh I stood up from where I was, a cup of ale in hand and sat on the previous challenger's seat. I placed my elbow on the table and spread my fingers wide. The blonde boy grabbed my hand with a smirk of his own. His grip was quite strong for someone lanky, his eyes sharp waiting for the slightest change. Here's the end of the line for you, lad, Gardney said, placing a hand on his shoulder. Place a bet, as expected, everyone placed their bets on me. My friend, appalled because no one placed a bet on him, voices out his displeasure. Wow, I bet on myself then, he said, put out by the lack of supporters, placing a coin on the table. The little boy collecting the bets picked it up with a shrug and said, well, that's an extra coin for me. Everyone laughed, myself included, except the blondie. Silence descended on the bar as me and my blonde friend grabbed each other's palms. Begin. The moment someone said those words my friend pushed with impressive speed and my hand was just an inch away from the table before I stopped it. Very impressive as always my friend, I said before I pushed his hand back to the point we started easily. What is wrong? Will you not push back? I taunted, making everyone laugh. I took a sip of ale from the cup in my other hand to add to his ire. I'll show you, he hollered in determination. His pushing power doubled all of a sudden and my eyes picked up a faint trace of blue surrounding his hand down to his elbow. I squinted my eyes at his hand and the blue wasn't surrounding his hands anymore. Huh, I guess I was seeing things. Crack appeared on the cup I held. Huh? Guess he was gripping it too hard, I hiccuped. We were like that for a while at a stalemate and the crowd was getting restless. Oh, the guys exclaimed. Now this is interesting, I might actually have to put in a little effort. Both our hands shake due to the force clashing around. I upped my effort and pushed Naruto back to the situation I was in a moment ago. His hands now a millimeter away from touching the table. This is it, my friend. I want to know the name of the one I had so much fun with today, I said. Finish him, I want my money, they all screamed and then, the screams, the yells and all the commotion in the bar gradually decreased in volume and it became so silent I could have heard a pin drop. It's Naruto Uzumaki, dat bayo. Naruto replied, his bangs covering his face. I pitied him and almost wanted to lose just to make him happy, almost. Naruto Uzumaki dat bayo. I repeated mentally. I will always remember it, I said before giving a little push to end it all. Huh? I wondered, shaking my head. His hand was still a millimeter away from the tabletop and I had to push again just to confirm. His hand stayed stationary, unyielding, firm. The new source of strength perplexed me. I experienced it before I felt it. He is flickering in and out of my senses, I thought, alarmed. I was the only one who noticed. I narrowed my eyes at the blonde and continued pushing back. He pushed my hand back little by little, gaining ground. His face still hung down till we were at a stalemate back at where we began. His presence has disappeared. He is right there, in front of me but I can barely sense him. Yeah, you do well to remember it cause I'm gonna win, he declared with fire in his voice and then explosive strength followed. It came out of nowhere. What the? My eyes widened to epic proportions. I had to drop the cup in my hand to match the crazy burst of power and I was barely able to match it. A grunt of effort escaped my lips, making the people present gasp. I can't believe it, but Naruto's hand wouldn't budge no matter how hard I try. I took a deep breath and exhaled gently. My face morphed to a serious one and I took the arm wrestling seriously. Crack, the table will. Boom. A shockwave traveled around the bar due to the force exerted on the table. The table was in pieces under our joined hands. Ah no. The ones who placed bets on me exclaimed dejectedly. Hee hee, it's a draw. Naruto finally brought his head back up and I could see his sapphire blue orbs twinkle with satisfaction. I could sense his presence clearly once again. He leaned forward, all the exhaustion caused by arm wrestling with almost everyone in the bar. What the, it's already late, he said when he looked out the window. You did not notice? I asked. Guess I was having too much fun, he said. I watched as he shifted in his seat. His expression turned from tipsy to dazed to aghast in 3 seconds. I'm sorry, but I had to go. Thank you for everything, Stranger-san, he yelled, thanking me as he ran towards the door. Wait, I have not introduced myself yet. He was already gone before I finished my sentence. I sighed dejectedly. My lord, I hope you had fun? Gardney asked me. I did, I said. Gardney, have you ever seen that kid around before? I asked. No, this is my first time meeting him with the weird language he speaks in his bad accent, Gardney replied. I laughed at the bad accent part. He speaks a language from the human world. The human world? So he's been there. Very few of us venture there. Thanks for today, Gardney. My lord. I walked home the rest of the night thinking about my brother's reactions if they learned about Naruto. The next day, early morning, normal Pav. My head, Naruto groaned, holding his head in pain. Where am I? He asked no one in particular as he sat straight, scratching his chest, yawning as he did. God, what is that smell? Naruto grimaced, sniffing the air, trying to locate the source of the foul smell. He coughed when he took a whiff of the precious black cloak Yasaka gave him. He stank of alcohol. Did I drink? He pondered before the voice of his partner interrupted him. Nice going, brat. Kurama. What happened yesterday? What happened? What happened? Don't you remember anything? Kurama roared. Shush, please stop yelling. Kurama's booming voice only helped to increase his headache. Wait, Naruto's face morphed from pain to horror. A cross-hand seal later. Poof. Reporting for duty, boss. Ack. The clone couldn't finish his sentence courtesy of a fist to the face from the original, dispelling it instantly. Arg. I'll just calm down, Naruto. You can handle this. You're Minato's son. Believe in yourself. Now you remember. Kurama said. Okay. The good news is I can speak a new language. Crude, but it'll do for now. The bad news. I'm wanted. For peeping on a hero's daughter. Naruto stopped his rant for a moment. A thoughtful look graced his face. Wait, my stupid clone did it. I didn't do anything. My clone did it all, but I don't think they'd believe me if I told them. Maybe they'd believe me if I gave them a demonstration? Ack, my brain hurts. I think he's finally lost it. Kurama wondered out loud. I can hear you and I'm perfectly sane. I need to ow. Another memory from one of his clones hit him hard. Hey, I know where to find the ancient spell. Naruto's face lit up. The city's library. Naruto told his tenant. Have fun investigating. I'm gonna take a quick nap. Lazy furball. Scene change. Naruto sat in one of the many seats inside the library staring at literal jargons. He couldn't read the weird language. Curse the language barrier. How am I supposed to read this? Naruto pulled his hair in frustration before banging his hands on the table. Isn't that, yeah, Black Cloak, he stinks. Naruto's ears picked up whispers from around the library. This place wasn't safe anymore. The shinobi left the library hoping he'd be able to come another day when he fully grasped how to read their language. Naruto decided to visit Gardney's bar, optimistic about an encounter with the nice friend he made yesterday. I don't even know his name, Naruto thought, outside Gardney's bar. Shop's closed. Kurama said, looking at the bar through the link he shared with Naruto. The dobi of the ninja academy turned around on the balls of his feet, spotting 6 guards armed with mean-looking spears. 3 guards plastered a piece of paper on a wall. Naruto looked around and spotted the same piece of paper around. Have you seen this suspicious person? A guard, who had a weird-looking helmet, asked a passerby. Yes, yesterday. He was inside that bar. He pointed at Gardney's bar. Naruto moved towards the piece of paper to take a clear look at what was written on it. He gasped when he saw what was on it. The shinobi looked left, looked right before he tried his hardest to move out of sight. He didn't understand what was written on the paper, but his poorly drawn image on the paper sure as hell rang warning bells in his head. Hey wait, that's him. The passerby pointed at Naruto's back. Blasted antagonistic passerby. Naruto cursed mentally. The lone ninja disappeared and one of the guards gave chase and others followed suit. Naruto sighed, thinking he'd lost them before coming out of hiding. A white narrow beam zipped past him, making him stop. He turned around and his pupils dilated when he saw a floating boat with a guard on deck. He looked back and saw the white beam drilled a hole right through the concrete wall and the edges were still red and smoking. He stared on with wide eyes as concrete melted like cheese and fell off the wall. "Run," his partner advised. Naruto did just that. The floating boat gave chase, easily keeping up with Naruto who was on land. Naruto took a sharp left and another right before he hit the brakes, skidding to a halt. 3 more ships were floating in the air, their artillery aimed at him. Some of the soldiers on the silver-colored boat were equipped with guns. "Stop right there, identify yourself," a guard yelled into a microphone. Naruto searched frantically for an escape route. Finding none, he created one himself, slamming a Rasengan into the nearest wall and disappearing into the tall building. After him, Naruto kept glancing behind him while ascending the building from floor to floor. He could hear the hurried footsteps of the soldiers after him. He ran into a room, closing the door shut, tripping over a sofa and sending the contents on a table to the rug-covered floor. The walls were painted cream and the furniture looked like that of humans on Earth. The doorknob twisted open with a click and a silver-haired woman walked in on Naruto. "A suspicious person in my apartment, who are you?" she asked. A knock on the door stopped Naruto's intro. The white-haired woman stared at Naruto's pleading look with caution, ignoring the knock on the door, contemplating whether to rat him out or not. Naruto moved to the side of the door so the soldiers after him wouldn't spot him. The old woman grabbed the knob and opened the door, hiding Naruto away from sight. "Everything all right?" she asked, totally calm. "Ma'am, a suspicious person has entered the building. Have you seen this individual?" He fished out a rough portrait of Naruto. "No, I haven't," she replied. "Please stay in your room while we investigate," the soldier said. "I will." She promptly shut the front door. She spared a sideways glance at Naruto before she spoke. "What did you do, boy?" Pierre. I peeped, I see tiny girl was, Naruto tried to explain using his little knowledge of the native tongue but failed miserably. The white-haired woman crossed her hands over her chest and 8 magic circles levitated in the air above her. "I'll ask again, what did you do, boy?" she repeated, this time with an icy edge to her tone. "I peeped in person, I mean to not swear." The woman raised an eyebrow at Naruto's words, she barely understood him. "Who did you peep on?" she asked. "A daughter's herc, red hair, this long great chest," Naruto described. "Annie? Why Annie of all people? Who?" Naruto asked, earning himself a slap on the head. "You didn't even know who you peeped on? The hero Cypher would skin you alive." "I'm sorry." The white-haired woman took her time to study Naruto. He had strange markings on his face similar to whiskers, a black cloak on, boots, and his clothes stank of ale. One would think he was a traveler at first glance. His blonde hair made him stand out because very few had blonde hair in the entire city. "Well, a pervert so you pass," she said, dispersing the magic circles. "You stink, boy, don't you wash?" Naruto had the decency to look squeamish. "I have place not to sleep and wash body clothes." "The bathroom is in there," the white-haired woman sighed, pointing at her room. "Thanks, old lady," Naruto said, earning himself another slap. This one hurt more than the last one. "I'm not old, boy," she corrected. "Boy, not I," Naruto replied. "How old are you?" she asked. Naruto sealed his lips shut, denying her an answer. He hurried to the bathroom to wash off. "You can have this. It was my son's." She threw a brown pants and an ash-colored shirt at Naruto unceremoniously. "Thank you. Your son, where is he?" Naruto asked, earning himself another slap yet again. Naruto gritted his teeth, trying to control his anger. "Are you dumb or what? He's dead. He died serving our great lord," she said with a melancholic look on her face. "So, was he a brawler?" Naruto asked as he grabbed the helm of the shirt and pulled down. The shirt didn't quite fit, but luckily, the pants did. "Are you dim-witted or what, boy?" she asked with a raised eyebrow. "Given the way you speak." "A fighter, a stronger, a soldier?" Naruto asked again, trying different words to convey his meaning. "Yes, come here, your words and accent sucks," she said. Naruto moved to where she was and almost jumped back when she grabbed his head. A magic circle spun around his head and disappeared after it did its work. "Do you understand me now?" she asked. Naruto's face lit up. "Finally, I understand you. Thank you very kindly for helping me. I'm Uzumaki Naruto. Nice to meet ya. If you don't mind, I have to wash my clothes. Can I wash them in the bathroom?" Naruto fired a barrage of questions in the old woman's language. Slap. "One question at a time, doofus." She slapped Naruto hard this time. "How can I understand everything you say if you rush things like that? You could have told me instead of slapping me." Naruto fired back, getting annoyed. "Oh, so now you think you can talk back to me, boy?" she yelled, entering his personal space. "I'm no boy, old hag," Naruto replied, moving even closer. He could feel the woman's breath on his face but didn't care one bit. He's faced people who'd make her piss her pants. He wasn't a boy, as she eloquently called him. "Oh, so you want to hit me? Ha, let me see you try," she said with her arms folded. "Can I just wash my clothes in peace? Kuso baba. What'd you say? I called you a baba. What's a baba? I am not gonna tell. Slap. Young boy and old woman bicker back and forth until the old woman narrowed her eyes at him and dropped the bomb on him. You're not one of us, are you? She said all of a sudden. Naruto almost choked on his saliva. I don't know what you're talking about. Naruto lied. I tried to look through your memories but something was blocking me so I didn't see much but I saw a blonde-haired woman patting your head on her lap, she said. Hey, that's personal. Naruto yelled indignantly. Fuck you, Kurama, Kukakuku. I don't know what one of Yasaka's lapdogs is doing here but you've got a lot of explaining to do. You went through my memories? I had to. You're a complete stranger affiliated with the Yukais. Are you perhaps a spy? She asked. No I'm not, Naruto said. What are you then? 'Cause you're surely not one of us. Flashback end. I think it was around that time that it began. TCH, I still don't know why that place affected him that much or the name of the place, Gaia scoffed. That's a long story for next time. He's back. True to Kurama's words, Naruto barged in making a beeline for his room. What happened to him? Gaia asked Kurama but met thin air. The chibi biju had disappeared. I think he had a bad day. Martha answered coming in. Thank you, Gaia-Nisan, the bento was delicious. Ah, don't mention it cutie. Arg, rar. They heard Naruto yell and the sound of glass breaking. Was it that bad? Someone called the name of ramen in vain. Martha told the goddess. Oh, scene change, Kuo Police Department. What are you talking about, John? The chief police officer asked John as he flopped into his chair. I want to recommend a consultant for our interrogation department, John said, taking a seat. John, who is this consultant and why do you think he's fit for the job? 9 out of 10 times, he can tell when someone's lying. He's like a living lie detector. 9 out of 10 times doesn't cut it. I want 10 out of 10, a perfect score, the chief police replied. Just give him a chance boss, I assure you he won't disappoint. The boss seemed to contemplate it, stroking his goatee, before he said, let me see him in action first. Thank you, boss. John chuckled mentally. Now that he's gained his boss's approval, all that is left is to convince the blondie. Which was easier said than done. Scene change. Night. Naruto was out taking a stroll to blow off some steam. He walked for a while before he started jogging and now he was sweating and feeling a bit dehydrated. He entered a convenience store looking for a cool refreshing drink. Oi, give me your best revitalizing drink. Naruto ordered, drumming his fingers on the table waiting on the drink before someone called his name. Oh, Naruto-senpai. Roswise yelled, her face lighting up when she saw the blonde. Naruto raised an almost unnoticeable eyebrow at Roswise. Hello. Roswise's green orbs reflected confusion. What are you doing here? It's a convenience store. I came to buy something, Naruto replied slowly, confusion and disbelief on his face. What else do you do in a convenience store? Here you go, customer. The salesgirl extended an expensive beer at him. The shinobi was about to take it from the girl's hand before. No, it's too expensive, don't buy it, Roswise yelled. The blonde ninja looked at Roswise, raising both eyebrows at her. Roswise dipped her hand into her pocket before she brought out a pack of vitamin C. If you want a refreshing drink, you should try these. They're healthy, easy to digest and most importantly, she raised a finger to show how important her next words were. They're cheap and affordable. Ding, a customer just came in. Naruto just stared at her, frozen and unmoving. His expression was one of suspicion. Roswise blinked twice upon seeing that he won't take the vitamin. Her face fell and her hands followed. Naruto didn't need Kurama's ability to know that Roswise was sad. He snatched the vitamin from her hand, gripping it tight. Thanks. I'll keep it, he replied. Naruto tried to pass by without touching her, which proved challenging because the way out was narrow. He successfully went past her before he looked back staring at Roswise, confused by her behavior as he walked out of the store. He waited a while seeing her stare at another drink longingly before she sighed and moved on. Naruto watched as she picked some products and tried to bicker over the products she picked with the salesgirl. He bit his lips and snorted to suppress a laugh as the salesgirl deadpanned at the Valkyrie as said Valkyrie kept on bickering. The salesgirl placed everything in a nylon bag and shoved it into Roswise's hands before opening her palm. Naruto read the salesgirl's lips as she glared and said something to Roswise. She said, "That'll be 1,099. Roswise gave the salesgirl 1,099 reluctantly before she left with another sigh. "TCH, what a miser," Naruto remarked, clicking his tongue while shaking his head in disappointment. He hadn't even taken a few steps before he heard his name again. "Naruto-senpai. Let's go home together," Roswise yelled, running after him. "Huh? We're not that close, so why is she insisting on going home together?" Naruto whispered to no one in particular. He waited nonetheless until she caught up to him. Roswise gave him a huge grin, taking a breath from running. They both walked in relative silence towards their neighborhood. "Cooperative today." Roswise spoke up. "My kids? Naruto questioned before he realized she was talking about Class 3B. TCH. I bet they were, especially the boys. How did you know? Roswise gasped. Having a pretty woman in class tends to get them in shape, Naruto said. Roswise had a little blush on her face. Naruto just called her pretty, even if he did it indirectly, though, it seemed like the blonde either didn't notice or didn't care. How about yours? She inquired. Let's not talk about them, those worthless brats, Naruto sighed. Senpai, Roswise frowned, a look that Naruto would come to know as a sign of a moral lesson from the Valkyrie. You're a teacher and it's wrong to call your student names. What? It reflects badly on you. That's why you have a bad reputation among the students and teachers. Your fangirls exempted. Roswise whispered the last part. Listen here, if you were Class 3E's homeroom teacher, you'd have blown a gasket and started calling them names by now, just like how I'm doing. Not every small problem can be solved with discipline, you know. You have to talk to them sometimes. Ha, as if those brats actually listen, senpai. What? You should try to talk to them and I promise you, they'll change for the better. Okay, fine. I'll try to talk to them. Happy? Roswise nodded beside Naruto and they continued trekking in relative silence. Oh, senpai, if you are looking to buy things at a cheap price, you should try the 100 yen shop. Naruto stopped for a moment to ask himself a question mentally. Do I look poor? He made a mental note to look at himself in the mirror when he got home. Roswise noticed Naruto had stopped for a moment so she turned around. It's true, the 100 yen shop sells things at an affordable price. Okay. Naruto nodded knowing what to say before he resumed trekking, and Roswise followed suit. It wasn't long before Issei's 6-story house was visible in the distance along with Naruto's house beside it. Well then, good night senpai. Roswise waved Naruto off with a smile. Naruto waved over his shoulder before he disappeared out of sight. I think the legends about him being cold and unapproachable are blown out of proportions. He seemed nice, Roswise remarked before she entered the Hyodo's house. The next day, Kuo Academy. What are you runts doing? A voice asked, suddenly. Ga! A trio of perverts exclaimed, suddenly. Issei, Matsuda and Motohama were busy leering at jiggling breasts of all kinds of perkiness and sizes. They didn't exempt anyone as they gathered together to leer at the latest jiggling jugs in Kuo Academy's gym clothes. S-sensei. Dismissed, the perverted trio scurried away with Issei running towards Asia to practice the three-legged race. Oi, Naruto, Kurama tried to warn Naruto. Yeah, I felt it. Naruto stared at the retreating trio, his stare lingering on Issei. A dark aura is around him and that Gremory kid. Evening, somewhere in Kuo, Naruto was pacing back and forth a distance away from a shop whose sign read, 100 yen shop. He's been pondering on what to do for the past 10 minutes. Should I check it out? Should I not? What am I even doing here in the first place? Ah, let me check it out. Naruto pushed the door open, his eyes darting back and forth, accumulating the smallest of details about the shop. Is she broke or something? Naruto wondered, looking at the super cheap products everywhere in sight. Senpai. Ah. Naruto almost jumped when he heard Roswise's voice behind him. What are you doing here? He asked. What are you doing here? Roswise fired back. Naruto ended up paying for his and Roswise's groceries after defeating an adamant Roswise who wanted to pay for her groceries. The girl wanted to pay for her groceries so bad but Naruto was having none of that. The moon was out and they walked back home in relative silence again. Naruto, for once, offered to carry her groceries but the Valkyrie turned him down with a smile. So, do you visit that shop frequently? He asked. I see. Naruto pondered on asking her if she was broke or if she needed money but threw that thought out the window. The girl might take it the wrong way and he'd have a berserk Valkyrie among the endless list of people who found him repulsive. He didn't want that. Is it getting cold or is it just me? Roswise asked, rubbing her arms. It's cold tonight. I watched the weather forecast, Naruto remarked. Roswise was freezing, he noticed. He stared at the jacket he had on and Roswise's bare shoulders exposed to the cold breeze. The Valkyrie caught him staring at her exposed shoulders and she almost cursed because she wanted to wear another blouse tonight. She had a cream blouse with a pleated skirt on. She subconsciously rubbed her shoulders and Naruto tightened his jacket around his body in a possessive manner, leaning away from her. The thought crossed his mind but he squashed it down with a 6 paths ultra big ball Rasengan. The thought of him covering her with his jacket. Roswise on the other hand sighed dejectedly. Men just don't levitate towards her. She had it all, looks, brain, body, character but no man would spare her the time of the day and now, her own colleague, her blonde handsome colleague, wouldn't even spare her a jacket to keep her warm in the cold. She was finally convinced it was a curse, her lack of a boyfriend. Sliverish white hair drifted gently in the wind. Naruto stared at it discreetly. He's seen the same shade of hair somewhere but couldn't recall where. They both walked all the way home and Naruto couldn't help but be tempted to shunshin home because it seemed like they've been walking forever. After walking some more, they finally reached their neighborhood. Naruto walked her to the front door and waited till she closed the door behind her. "Good night, senpai," she greeted without luster. She was down. Naruto noticed but didn't say anything. He nodded at the sliver white-haired woman before they parted ways. John had a huge smile on his face as he searched around the kitchen while waiting for Naruto to come home when he saw a pack of vitamin on the counter. John took a glass cup and filled it with water. He was about to drop the vitamin into the cup when Naruto opened the front door. "I'm home," Naruto announced, heading towards the long couch. Naruto-chan," his female housemates greeted. "Oh, hey Naruto." John waved at him in a giddy manner all of a sudden. Naruto sighed, giving everyone a glance before he froze, giving John a once-over. "Ah!" Naruto yelled, putting his hand forward in a dramatic fashion, watching in slow-mo as John raised the cup to his mouth. Instantaneously, Naruto appeared in front of John and took the glass cup from the detective before he could drink it. "It's mine," he yelled, holding the cup to his chest. The housemates raised an eyebrow at his weird behavior. "Come on Naruto, it's vitamin. Let me have some." "No, it's mine. Go buy some for yourself if you want some." Naruto raised his nose at John before he grabbed the vitamin on the counter. "It's mine. Mine." Naruto glared at John as he walked into his room with the cup and vitamin. The door creaked gently and closed with a clink as Naruto shut the door. "What a weirdo," his housemates said in unison, shaking their heads at the same time. John made a beeline towards the fridge and both ladies turned their attention back to the soap opera they were seeing before Naruto's outburst. "What a psycho, he made me forget about my offer for him," John spat. Naruto stared at the cup of vitamin as if it was some kind of bomb before he sighed. "Just a sip," he said before he reached out for the cup. Chapter 16. Kuo Academy, school to many creatures, be them humans, devils, angels, fallen angels, vampires, yukais, Asgardians, and never forget dimension, a dimension-displaced super ninja. Was an all-round peaceful school when it's not under the threat of a supernatural being trying to destroy it, but that wasn't the only threat the school faced. In these very walls exists the legend of a stubborn class filled with miscreants of every kind, students of many sizes and quirks, characters whose legendary rebellious nature was the stuff of legend. Teachers, whose legendary disciplinary acts made other miscreants quake in their boots, fell prey to this legendary class. But they weren't your average miscreants, nay, they were extraordinary miscreants, never succumbing to the rule of law. Their name strikes fear into the heart of teachers, and their front door itself warded off other students with its unparalleled dreadful aura. They were indomitable, undefeated, unbeatable, inexpugnable, insuperable, impregnable. They were Class 3E. Cue the thunderclap. Now, in these very hallways, corridors, every corner of every classroom, the libraries, the labs, the various club buildings, the staff rooms, and the principal's office, the name of a rising disciplinarian star rode through the mouth of the maidens, to the dreams of the fangirls, the silent whispers of the haters, the criticizing epistle of the teachers, and the mind of the innocent bystanders throughout the entire school, until his fame jumped through the fence and reached neighboring schools, bringing the tale of his exploits with it. In layman's terms, he was what you'd call a total prick, a very rude, unpleasant, moody and broody man. And now, that very same rising star stood at Class 3E's front door, glaring at the doorknob. Will he be able to shepherd these miscreants? Will he be able to subdue them, to tame them, to underbring, to manage, to puppeteer, to rule, to guide these piles of misfits? He is the school's last hope, and quite frankly, he was Class 3E's last hope. His name, cue the swooshing sound. The fate of the class and teacher will be decided today. It's now or never. Tensions boiled over as the teacher sized up the students and the students did the same to the teacher. This was the moment of truth, the moment they have all been waiting for. As the tension thickens to unbearable lengths, the teacher finally spoke. Today, he paused for dramatic effect, the students on the edge of their seats. Today, he said, trailing off again. "Ah, the suspense is killing me. Teach," a student suddenly yelled, earning nods and murmurs of agreement from his fellow students. The teach inhaled suddenly and closed his eyes before he let out a prolonged sigh. The students were about to die of curiosity. They stared with wide red eyes. Their hands shook as if they had tremors, and their feet tapping the floor sounded like the march of soldiers. And then the teacher spoke. "We're going to elect a new class president." The whole class leaned on their chair with a moan, their interest dislocated. "There's no one suitable to be class president judging from your performances, so we are going to pick 3 random students and vote. Hail democracy." The same student who yelled like 6 paragraphs ago, yelled again, and the class burst into laughter. "You, stand up," Naruto pointed at him. "Your name, punk." "It's Oga Toby," he answered with an upbeat attitude. "Come out here, Oval." The boy raised an eyebrow at Naruto but came out nonetheless. Naruto hummed as he searched around for another, suitable, candidate. A little smirk graced his features as the students averted their eyes, not wanting to make eye contact with him lest he choose one of them. A certain blue-haired boy played with an action figure, making sounds worthy of an action movie soundtrack while playing with said action figures. He tuned out everything going on in the class, and with such efficiency, he was in another world of his own. "Oi!" Naruto yelled, staring at him. The blue-haired boy raised his head from what he was doing and noticed the whole class was silent, which was weird before he locked eyes with Naruto. He looked behind and slapped a poor student behind him on the shoulder and pointed at Naruto. His actions earned him a glare from the boy he assaulted. "You, Super Saiyan Blue," Naruto said, pointing at him. "Me?" Sasuke asked, pointing a finger at his chest. Receiving a nod from Naruto, he stood, action figure still in hand, beside Oga. "Come out here. We just need one more candidate," Naruto mused out loud, still searching for a suitable candidate. "Sexist pig," a female student sneered before she went back to playing possum. The whole class went silent hearing her. They looked from her to Naruto, feeling a great catastrophe was about to happen. "Oi, sexist," Naruto said, already standing in front of the brown-haired girl. The students wondered how he got there so fast. "Get up, punk," he ordered with his normal poker face. The girl sighed before she raised her head, her hair casting a curtain over her face before she tucked them to the back of her ears and stared right into Naruto's sapphire blue eyes. Blank dark blue orbs stared into sapphire blue ones disinterestedly. "In case you didn't notice, I'm no punk. I'm a bitch, sexist." "Oh," the whole class cheered. "What's your name, kid?" Naruto asked, placing his hands on the table, getting close to her face. He was impressed. The girl held his gaze without blinking. "Meet Yuri Brown. A half-caste, and all-round bitch. The #1 female student in class 3E. Sorry, but mama told me not to give my name to strangers." "Oh," the students yelled again. 2 points for Yuri, 0 for Naruto. "Need I remind you who you're talking to?" Naruto asked with a serious air around him. The auburn-haired student bit her lips, feeling a bead of sweat cascade down her face before she replied, "Yuri." The pressure she felt was nerve-wracking, to say the least. All traces of friendliness were erased from the blonde teacher's face, and all of a sudden, it returned. "Well then, Lily, get your ass off the chair and go stand with them," Naruto ordered. Brown did as she was told with a grimace on her face. "Listen up, you piles of trash. One out of those 3, Naruto paused, pointing at the students in front of the class. "Is going to become the class president, and that's all up to you guys," he finished, staring at the students. "What's it gonna be, Super Saiyan Blue?" Sasuke glared at Naruto. "Oval." Oga raised an eyebrow. "Or Lily?" Yuri looked away, disinterested. "You have 2 minutes, 2 minutes later. And the class president is, Yuri." The students gave her an ovation as the candidates went back to their seats. She couldn't help but scoff at the kids clapping. "Just a little more," she told herself. "Just a little more and you'll never have to come here again, Brown," she thought. Naruto stared at the new class president. The girl had a vibe about her, a vibe that made Naruto uncomfortable. "Okay, class. Today, we are going to discuss." Naruto began only to see that the whole class had dozed off while some were outright snoring. A sigh escaped his mouth and he dropped the note he held and gripped the table. "Shall we go through the rules again?" he asked, gritting his teeth. A cracking sound followed each word he spoke, as the table groaned due to the pressure he applied on it, jolting everyone back to reality. The students all sat straight, at attention, quaking with fear. "You damn well know that everyone here doesn't give a damn about what you want to say, nor are they interested in books." The freshly minted class president spoke, earning nods from her fellow students. "We are below the average statistic of an average student of Kuo. Every teacher who walked through that door gave up on us." She paused, expecting Naruto to say something, and when he was about to, she cut him off. "You'll say you're different, but that's what they all said at. Just give up on us now and have a clear conscience, because we won't blame, we'll do the opposite, we will praise you." The whole class sat straight, expecting Naruto to give up, but he did something that caught them off guard. He chuckled. "Do you think this is funny?" Brown asked, feeling offended. "Listen here, noobs." He walked from the front of the class to the third row. "From the first row, tell me what you see yourself doing 6 years from now." "What?" a student asked. "Tell me your dreams. Your future goals. Forget about class today and tell me a thing or two about yourselves." "Now you're interested," Brown scoffed. Naruto paid her no heed as he pointed a finger at a black-haired girl, with her hair in twin tails and big purple eyes. "Me?" she asked, standing up. "Introduce yourself and tell me about your likes, dislikes, and dreams." "You she stuttered, staring at the ground. Naruto raised an eyebrow at her, his normally unapproachable aura lowered. "You have none?" The girl twisted her hair nervously. "What's your name?" "Utsukushi, beautiful name, Utsukushi. Tell me, what do you like to do most? That doesn't bore you. The one thing you find fascinating?" I don't can. I've been wondering, what kind of hair products can I use to tame my wild hair?" Naruto asked all of a sudden, running his hand through his blonde locks. "It depends on your budget, but I'd recommend a few hair products that will help keep you." Ah, there's the problem with these blasted fringes that gets in my eyes every time I blink. What kind of hairs? Naruto began, brushing the stray strands off his eyes, and hadn't finished his sentence when Utsukushi's face lit up as she brought out a set of scissors from nowhere, already picturing Naruto with different hairstyles. She blushed upon seeing the surprised look on the students' faces. You can sit down, Utsukushi. Hey, Super Saiyan Blue, Naruto called Sasuke, who was busy playing with an action figure, again. The whole class snickered at the new nickname. Tell me, what are the materials used in making action figures and the process behind it? Sasuke gave a well-detailed explanation with a smile on his face. He remembered watching a documentary on how action figures were made. Here's another question. This is my watch. Naruto threw it at him and the boy caught it. Can you tell me what's wrong with it? It's not ticking anymore. Sasuke inspected the watch before he sat down and brought out a toolbox out of nowhere and started pulling the watch apart. Oi, Super Saiyan, that's Sensei's watch, Oga yelled. It's alright. Let him dismantle it. Naruto had secretly removed a part of the watch before he threw it at Sasuke. Oga, Chelsea played a game against Manchester United yesterday. I missed the game because I was under some meds and slept off. Can you give me a recap? Oga did what he was told with a detailed explanation. Nice, not bad. Naruto complimented them. The whole class went silent when they realized what Naruto was doing. Listen, kids. There exist some students who don't even know what they are good at, nor do they know what they want to be in the future. Now, that is true, but they forget one thing, and that one thing is called interest. The kids listened with rapt attention. You can perform brain surgery on a student and fit a whole mathematics textbook in it, but the reality is if he's not interested, it'll all be in vain. Now, your goal as a student is to know that interest, and my goal as a teacher is to impart the knowledge, to become a link between you and this. Naruto raised a textbook. But I can't link you to this, he said, raising a textbook for everyone to see, if you don't try to learn about it, if you are not interested in it. You can't pick up a phone without a SIM card and start calling your friends with it. There's a procedure to follow before you do that. Most of us dream of becoming a pilot, a doctor, an astronaut, a lawyer, a teach. Nope, scratch that. The whole class laughed and Naruto had a little smirk on his face. But as we grow up, Lil Super Saiyan Blue might say, Daddy, I don't want to be a doctor anymore. I want to be a hero, and my hero name is going to be Captain Underpants. Sasuke glared at Naruto with a blush on his face while the whole class shared a laugh. Then Sasuke ate mommy's food and now, he's all grown up. Then he'll say to his father, Dad, I think I want to be a public relation officer. Naruto walked to the middle of the class with a smirk on his face. There's no such thing as being interested in nothing. There's something you want to see, to know, to do, no matter how minuscule, how mediocre, how lofty, how scientific, how artistic it is. It doesn't matter if you're interested on a full scale or a short scale. When you have that interest, the next thing you need is knowledge on that object of interest, and the current path you're on will provide that. Naruto finished. But school can't teach us everything, a random student said. Sure, learning isn't limited to school, it's everywhere around you. But school will provide you a basic understanding of very important things that will do you a world of good when you finally embark on your journey towards what you want to become in the future. I believe everybody can learn and that there are no such things as a dullard. Yes, even dullards have something they excel at that's not school related. Everybody can learn unless there's something wrong up here, Naruto said, pointing a finger at his temple. The bell signified the end of the class and kids were so engrossed they didn't notice the period was over. Naruto chuckled because he was engrossed in the conversation too. Here's your first assignment. His words earned a groan from his students. I want you to write your likes and dislikes and your life goals. I want it on my table at 7:54 a.m. Failure will attract a penalty. Have a good day, punks. TCH, that girl was right. Talking to them works better sometimes. Naruto mused. For some reason, I want to put those kids on the right path. Ho? Are the kids growing on you already? You wish? Kuo. Unknown location. A multitude of humans stood in a deserted street in different rows, staring at an empty podium. A huge purple curtain was all they could see. The boss ordered everyone available to be present today. All members of the Styx Cry group were there, even the lieutenants. The 6 lieutenants each have a title called the Kleptomaniacs, together they're called the Klepto 6. Listen up, boys. Their leader, Quavo, arrived with style, in a cowboy outfit, wearing an ash-colored cloak and a brand new ash-colored cowboy hat with a 2 golden bullhorn design on it. He performed a proper burial for the old one and promised to avenge it, and now, he was out for blood. A tooth for a tooth, an eye for an eye, a hat for a life. I told you rats since day when I was gone, lead y'all to greatness when I picked yo stinking ass out of them filthy slums. And now, I stand in front of ye to tell y'all, it's time for me to F you filth hat promise. If all things go according to plan, we will rise to unfathomable greatness, greatness the likes of which has never been seen before. We will rule this earth as the absolute power. Yes, boss, you runts might have heard whispers, yeah, or might have seen things, but now, I tell you this, ye can gain true power, just like me. Yep, that's right, you filthy boys can finally have special powers as I do. The whole crowd of criminals burst into murmurs. The path to power is a painful one, but I assure you my brothers in crime, the pain will be worth it. The murmurs got so loud, it was getting out of hand. Quavo brought out his gun and opened fire on one of the poor saps. He scored a perfect headshot and blew the smoke off the mouth of the gun and twirled it using his index finger before he holstered it safely in a pouch on his lap. The whole crowd flinched back, afraid of meeting the same fate the poor sap did. Do not interrupt me, while I am talking, PS of his lungs until he was out of breath. Now, where was I? Oh, I was telling you runts that you can have power, great power, but power is a choice. It's either you die a forgotten coward or you be remembered as something greater than the human feasible minds can comprehend. Now, if you're in, step forward. Quavo finished his speech and as he expected, only a few came forward. He smirked at the crowd and tipped his hat at 4 of the kleptos. Sickly purple veins bulged all around their bodies as they cleared the distance between them and the crowd. All 4 had 2 men each in a chokehold, a sick grin on their face as they crushed their throats. Then they all threw the dead bodies at neck-breaking speed towards a building. They crashed through it, hitting a few buildings before they stopped. The crowd was about to piss their pants after seeing the demonstration, and the way out seems far and unreachable. Now, behold, the ultimate power, the creature that will make you great. The purple curtains fell and a fat man, with a huge pot belly, sat in the middle of the podium, his eyes closed. Is this a joke, boss? One of Quavo's men asked after seeing the creature. Wait, isn't that old man Brown? One of the criminals asked. What's he doing here? Another whispered. Man, fuck this shit, I'm going home. All of Quavo's men turned around, but before they could leave, old man Brown spoke, but they knew it wasn't the old man speaking. No, it was something else. Brown, yes, you could say Brown is still inside here somewhere, in the trunk, but I am in the driver's seat. All of Quavo's men walked back and beheld old man Brown. His eyes were dark purple, devoid of any emotion, and he was levitating in the air. Old man, you can put away the act now. How are you going to help us? Is it even possible for us to have powers like them? One of them stuttered. You do not believe me? Do not worry, you will in due time. The air became very thick all of a sudden and the clouds became dark. Do you crave power? Do you want it like never before? The demon's voice came from the crowd. They all screamed when the dead body, from the man who was shot earlier, came back to life and was now speaking to them, looking like the old man with dark purple eyes. What are you? Your salvation from your human limits. I am your master and your duty is to obey. He finished his speech and the whole crowd was engulfed by a purple mist. Screams of pain and agony reverberated around and gradually, they became bestial. Now that you have an army, what's next? Now, I let them wreak havoc. I see, Quavo said, stroking his goatee. I have a mission for you, Sacred Gear Bearer. Find and bring Martha Hunter to me. I want her unscathed. That's gonna be hard, boss. She's the little sister of a pig in the Kuo pig pen, John Hunter. John Hunter? Why does that name ring a bell in my head? Quavo mused. A fat hog in the Kuo pen, one of the kleptos reminded him. A hog? Wait, John the Upright? Quavo's face lit up like Christmas. Oh, that one's fiery. So, that was his sister, Is that the one you said I'll find interesting? Quavo asked the demon. The old man nodded. Yes, she holds the key to everything. Well, color me elated, Christmas came early this year. The leader of the Styx Cry group chuckled. Look alive, boys. We finally gone, raid them pig pens and slaughter all them hogs till they can't, oink, no more. Can't wait to kill them pigs. A klepto yelled, scales appearing on his face for a brief moment before they receded. And when I get my hands on that blonde, you will have your chance, Sacred Gear Bearer, get in line. Yo, out for blood too, find the girl. I will deal with the blonde one myself, he is dangerous. I can help you with that. One of the klepto, a green-haired man, gave the possessed man a file on one Naruto Uzumaki. After reading the files, an evil smirk slowly formed on his face. Change of plans. I have never been to high school before. Let us pay a visit to Kuo Academy tomorrow, shall we? Scene change. Outside an underground club in Kuo. John had his eyes front and his gun secured tightly in his hands. His partner was right beside him in the same situation. A squad of SPRT in front of them was about to bust a door open. John had a black bulletproof vest on with the word, police, printed in white. Heads up. One of the SPRT exclaimed before they bust the door open. Throwing in a tear gas canister, John and his partner followed suit screaming, hands up, KCPD. They arrested the drug addicts and the female strippers booed them. A few criminals tried to resist but they were subdued and before they knew it, one of them opened fire, gunning down a SPRT member and it escalated to a gunfight quickly. The strippers in the club all hid for cover as the cops fought the criminals. John shot down 2 criminals before he disarmed one and flipped him over his shoulder with explosive strength, breaking a table in the process. The screams of the women caught his attention before he saw something or someone out of his peripheral vision. A girl dressed in Kuo Academy uniform. John Hunter walked past a SPRT, stepping over a downed criminal before he seized the student's hand. She had her back turned to him and he couldn't see her face. He yanked her hand forward, turning her around so she could face him. The student wanted to scream at the cop who yanked her hand to take it easy but met a frown on the cop's face. "What are you doing here?" John frowned at the student. Scene change. Kuo City Police Department interrogation room. Naruto had a heavy frown on his face, leveling a heated glare at Yuri who was busy looking at anywhere other than his eyes. The cops looked at the exchange going on between teacher and student through the screen in the interrogation room. Martha received a call from her brother who wanted to speak with Naruto. The blonde was busy doing nothing as always and wondered why John wanted to talk with him. Imagine his surprise when he heard that they busted an underground club and found an underage stripper from Kuo Academy, a student from his class. The student had no guardian and further questioning led to her admitting she was a student of Class 3E, a class that John was familiar with. He always heard Naruto moan and complain about that class, hence, he called Naruto to come bail her out. "How long have you been doing this?" Naruto asked, trying not to blow the top. "Hey, Teach. Never told us you were with the police. Guess we all have secrets, She dodged the question, staring at the wall as if it had interesting scribblings on it. "How long have you been working as a stripper?" Naruto asked, banging his hand on the table. Yuri gritted her teeth and stared at Naruto right in the eye and answered, "What's wrong with that? You're 17 for crying out loud. So? Others do it all the time. It's just a means to make money. You're too young to be doing something like this." "Don't tell me I'm too young. The bills aren't gonna pay themselves, okay? When your own mother abandons you at birth and your only father is a hopeless drunk who only cares about a bottle of vodka, this is the only way to survive. Don't come here preaching to me about right or wrong when you have been comfortable with your life since the start. People like you who lived a sheltered life with rich parents can never understand someone like us. Do you know what it's like to be alone, hopeless, having a father who'd steal your hard-earned money to buy a bottle of vodka? How it feels to have loan sharks chasing you around because of the stupid debt your father accumulated over time? How it feels like when loan sharks harass you because your own father loved alcohol too much, not even thinking about his daughter's future?"
Whoa, the kids had it tough, a cop commented and the other cops couldn't help but agree.
"And so did I. Look at me now though," John commented. Yuri wiped her tears furiously after her outburst. "Look at Naruto. Yes, I know how it feels to be lonely. Like you don't exist. The despair grips your heart tight and it hurts, but I don't how it feels like to have a father, drunk or not, because I never knew my parents. I had good people around me when I was growing up. Maybe that's why I turned out to be who I am today." The interrogation room went silent and the only sound one could hear was Yuri sniffing, wiping her nose every now and then.
"You wanted to make money. I understand that, but engaging in illegal activities to make money is fundamentally wrong," Naruto explained with care. "Where's your father?"
"Don't know, I haven't seen him since last week." "You didn't look for him? It's a common occurrence." "I see." Naruto trailed off. "You hungry?" he asked. Yuri didn't trust her voice enough to speak, so she just nodded. "Let me get you something to eat." Scene change. A small restaurant in Kuo. After bailing her out, Naruto took her to a restaurant and let her order whatever she wanted. He watched her wolf down a huge bowl of ramen and wondered how she kept her body lean and curvy. He gave a nod of approval when she drank the whole broth in one go and all that was left in the bowl was a Narutomaki. He couldn't help but smirk at the way she ate ramen. He stared at the busy road, watching different cars zoom past under the night sky. It was like they were breaking his worries, piece by piece, taking it all away with them. "Where do you live?" he asked her, eyes still on the road. "In the red light district," she answered with a pout. Naruto felt relieved. She looked like a 17-year-old girl right now, not the cold front she always had on. "You want a new apartment? Do you pity me?" She narrowed her eyes at the blonde, a mean look on her face. Bonk. "Ow." Yuri nursed her head, glaring at Naruto. "I see myself, from when I was young, in you. Just think of this as me trying to provide a better life for someone like me. Think of it as an opportunity." "Thanks, but no, I'll be fine on my own." Naruto sighed and facepalmed. "Damn stubborn kids, you sure?" "Yeah, you don't need anything." She nodded. "Okay, then. I'll see you in school on Monday." Naruto turned around and waved her goodbye. "Wait, can you borrow me a few yen? I promise I will pay you back." Scene change. Achoo. Naruto, who was walking back home, stood in front of the 100 yen shop that Roswise had shown him, expecting to see a certain person. He shivered in the cold and rubbed his hands. Why is it getting cold every night, he wondered. The blonde Uzumaki decided to wait a few more minutes before he left and, lo and behold, he saw Roswise in the distance. "Ho, here she comes." He cleared his throat and straightened out his shirt, trying to look as cool as possible. "Act cool, no, be cool, Naruto. This means nothing. You just wanted to return the favor." Naruto Uzumaki owes no one a favor. You didn't do this because you were feeling bad about the other day. This means nothing, alright? Nothing at all. Nothing. Naruto nodded, reassuring himself. Achoo! He wiped his nose with his sleeves. Damn it, there goes my awesomeness, he cursed mentally. Oh, senpai, Roswise yelled, waving at Naruto. Here she comes. She's coming alright. Good evening, senpai. Roswise stopped in front of the tall blonde with a smile on her face. Naruto moved his hands behind him when she got near. Good evening. He trailed off awkwardly for a moment, angling his head a bit as he forgot something. Wait, I don't remember her name. Did you come here to get some groceries? She asked. Yeah? Naruto asked, more than answered. For sure, the 100 yen shop is the best, Roswise commented, nodding her head with a proud smile. Right. Naruto drawled out. Man, you sure love the 100 yen shop. Roswise blushed at that and she quickly changed the conversation to save face. Where are your groceries? She asked, wondering where his grocery bag was at. Naruto saw this as an opportunity and straightened his back and stood at attention. A poofing sound went off and smoke filled Roswise's vision all of a sudden. She waved her hands around and the smokescreen settled down then. She opened her eyes to a grocery bag in her face. Ahem, he cleared his throat, shaking the grocery bag in her face. Roswise looked from the grocery bag to Naruto and asked, "What's this?" She asked, looking straight at Naruto's blue orbs. Did he perhaps think she was poor and decided to buy groceries for her? As if he knew what she was thinking, he quickly answered, "This is, a thanks for, the Vita vitamin you gave me." Naruto replied, still holding onto the bag. Saying the Virgin Valkyrie was touched was a deep understatement. Her expression made Naruto nervous, very nervous. She didn't say anything, she just stared at him with her green orbs showing an emotion akin to surprise and happiness. Hello? Naruto scratched the back of his head. Roswise realized she was staring and blushed madly as she tucked her hair behind her ears. She thinned her lips, trying hard to fight a smile off her face, but she failed and accepted the bag with a full-blown smile on her face. Her first gift from a man. She never thought it'd come from the blonde stranger in front of her. She raised her head and gave Naruto a shy grin. Thank you very much, Naruto-senpai. She bowed, failing to keep the excitement from her voice. Ho, she's happy, Naruto thought with satisfaction. Both human and Asgardian walked to their respective homes at a leisure pace under the crescent moon. For some reason, Naruto had his hands behind him and walked like a dignified person, basking in the afterglow of his rather deeply appreciated magnanimous gesture. Though, something was bothering his magnanimous self and after his patience ran out, he finally decided to voice it out. Aren't you going to see what's inside? The shinobi asked. The Valkyrie hadn't even taken a sneak peek into the grocery bag. She just held it tight and swung it with every step she took like a child would with their favorite toy. Nah, I'm going to wait till I get home, the Valkyrie answered, gripping the bag tight. She was still fighting hard to keep the smile off her face and she was still failing hard. Naruto gritted his teeth at that. Why wouldn't she just open it? How was he supposed to know if she liked it or not? Achoo! Goddammit, who's talking about me? Naruto cursed. Roswise, beside Naruto, giggled at his sudden outburst. Senpai, it's just the cold, winter is near. Really, I didn't sneeze because someone was plotting my downfall? He questioned too seriously. Roswise stopped to stare at him with a bewildered look on her face. She thought, Odin's beard, he's paranoid. Why are you looking at me like that? Nothing. Roswise replied sharply, looking away. Naruto sniffed every now and then, and they made small talk topics, never venturing further than school before they reached home. He walked her to the front door this time around and waited for her to open the door. The Virgin Valkyrie had her hands on the doorknob and with a gentle twist, she pushed the door open slightly, but she didn't want to go in just yet. She found herself enjoying the small talk she had with the blondie, but alas, all good things must come to an end. See you later, senpai. She flashed Naruto her most grateful smile over her shoulder. Oh yeah, I'm awesome. Now I don't feel like a super jerk anymore. 2 days later, Kuo Academy, Naruto sat in the staff room, staring at Azazel's seat and Roswise's empty seat in particular. He also noticed the devil teens weren't around. No supernatural students or teachers were in today. He sighed happily. Could today get any better? He glared at Roswise's empty seat and a feeling of uneasiness descended upon him. It can't be her, right? There's no way it's her. The girl looked too familiar, but he couldn't remember where he saw her. His eyes moved to the computer screen and he had a mini flash operated a computer. It was new and surreal to him, but now, here he was watching a video on his tube. The office landline rang loudly, getting his attention as a teacher answered it and told him the call was from the police department. Naruto Uzumaki speaking. He answered. Naruto, it's me, John. John, what's up? Kuo City Police Department is under attack by the Styx Cry group. We are trying our best to hold them off, but we are failing. Naruto became alarmed instantly. He just watched the 12 noon news and they didn't say anything about the Kuo police department being under attack. John, tell me what's going on clearly, Naruto answered. It's hell in here. We are losing our minds. It happened all of a sudden and our request for backup has been denied. They are armed with unknown weapons and are many in number. John, calm down. I'm on my way. Just hang on a few minutes. Naruto paused expecting a reply only to receive silence. Hello? John? John? Naruto yelled, gaining the teacher's attention. Damn it, he cursed, hanging the phone. The blonde teacher typed the keyword, Kuo Police Department, on a search engine and the monitor brought up a lot of results and he clicked on a video and it displayed a bird's eye view of Kuo and the entire place looked normal except for the fact that everyone gave the police station a wide berth subconsciously. A barrier? He mused. Alarm bells went off in his head. The attack was aided by supernatural force. The police can't handle that on their own.
The blonde shinobi was a few feet away from the doorknob, trying to come up with an excuse for leaving work early before he felt a great amount of negative emotion in the direction of the school's gate and his eyes widened when the sky suddenly turned purple. All the students, due to the short break, were out to witness the strange event and Martha was one of them.
An explosion went off in the school's gate and a mushroom cloud rose up to the air in the distance. Hey, what was that? My god, what's happening? An alien invasion? All the teachers and students began whispering. Naruto Uzumaki looked out the window and what he saw was like a scene from a zombie movie. Strange creatures were running towards the main campus. Get the students back to their classes and maintain order. He ordered with a calm demeanor. His face going blank as he exited the staff room.
Students raced around helter-skelter in the hallways, filling the doors, obstructing each other's path in their fear-induced frenzy. The blonde shinobi moved with grace till he was on the ground floor. He closed his eyes and a moment later, he was in sage mode, while moving. The shinobi inside him was finally awakening to a high-level threat it seems.
Martha's energy was inside the school like he wanted, and so was Yuri's. Most of the students' energies were close to the classrooms and luckily for him, if the demon wanted Martha, it had to go through him first. He was their last line of defense.
Naruto ran towards the incoming group of beasts. They felt like an abomination, a demon in sage sensory mode. No, there were stray devils mixed in, the blonde ninja noticed.
He ran shinobi style towards the incoming stray devils and demons, who had the same signature as a Shirik, wondering if the posse partners knew what was going on. All the staff and students have seen the supernatural today. They already have a hard time coming to terms with the fact that this might be doomsday, so surely seeing their teacher breathe fire would be nothing surprising, right? But to be on the safer side. This one is for Shima. Senpo. Futon Tsunabakori, he exclaimed, exhaling a massive cloud of dust from his mouth. The students saw Naruto run into the huge cloud of dust that appeared all of a sudden and burst out with whispers. Martha, in particular, had a worried look on her face. Naruto ni, please be safe. Kuo Academy, a school to many creatures, be them humans, devils, angels, fallen angels, vampires, yukais, Asgardians and, never forget dimension, a dimension-displaced super ninja, was an all-round peaceful school when they're not under the threat of a supernatural being but right now, it was a battleground between man and demons. Scene change. Hyodo's house. Dulio and Agatha arrived in Japan, receiving orders from the higher-ups to team up with the devils to apprehend a Shirik. They had Graphia and Soji with them while Serafal and Beowulf went to India to go find the last clone of the demon. Thanks for the muffins, Mrs. Hyodo. May the Lord bless you and yours. Dulio bowed, crying into Issei's mom's hands. He murmured about how good the muffin was. And this guy's supposed to be the strongest exorcist, they all thought except Graphia who was having a conversation with Serafal. We are fighting the last clone, it possessed a human. It came to us of its own will. Serafal told Graphia through a communication magic circle on her ear. Dulio-sama and Agatha-sama just arrived. We have reason to believe the demon is still in Japan. Be wary of it, Graphia. Grandpa told me stories of the demon. It's not to be underestimated. Graphia heard an explosion in the background after Serafal's warning.
I understand, Leviathan-sama. Graphia closed the communication magic circle and saw that Dulio was still thanking Mrs. Hyodo who had a huge sweat drop on her head.
Dulio-sama, it's time to go, she announced. Hey, Graphia, you think the blonde is inside? Soji asked, staring at Naruto's house after they came out of Issei's. The gate of Naruto's house was pushed open all of a sudden and Gaia was seen closing the door before she ran, faster than a normal human should be able to, conjured a green magic circle and teleported to God knows where. Interesting, she can use magic circles, Dulio stated commented the obvious, she's pretty, he added as an afterthought. Guys, there are 2 huge purple magic barriers in town and I sense great evil in them. Agatha suddenly called out from above with her wings spread out. The others unfurled their wings and joined her in the air to see what she was talking about. I smell a demon, Soji remarked with narrowed eyes, summoning his sword. There's no doubt about it, it's that demon, Dulio added. That one is from the Kuo City Police Department while the other is around Kuo Academy, Grafia explained. Let's split up. I and Grafia will go to Kuo Academy. Grafia had already moved close to Dulio, conjuring a magic circle. Agatha, you go with Soji and assess the situation, Dulio ordered before he was engulfed by the magic circle. The white-haired angel seemed a bit nervous but she was willing to follow orders. Don't slow me down, Soji stated before he teleported them both to the police station. In Kuo Police Station, take cover. A purple beam zoomed past a group of cops shooting at the Styx Cry group. The beam hit a police car, making it go boom, instantly killing a few cops taking cover beside it. They have managed to stop them for the moment by creating a barricade. The police chief and a few cops were holed up on the third floor.
What's the situation? The chief yelled over the radio.
Sir, they've managed to breach through using weapons that shoot purple beams instead of bullets, like the guns from Star Wars. A cop in the barricade replied. Are we shooting a sci-fi movie here, son? The police chief asked. No sir, the man over the radio replied. Just try to hold them off, we are still trying to contact the outside world. Chief, behind you, Hiroshima yelled, calling his boss attention to a Styx Cry member behind him. Bang, the member's face went blank as he fell limp to the floor. John had blood seeping from the wound on his face, breathing hard as he threw the empty pistol he just used to kill the Styx Cry member away. Do we have any contact with the outside world yet? John asked, taking cover. Even though they made a barricade, some still managed to scale up and past it, and it's up to them to take the stragglers out. No, they've been cut off from the rest of the world, the tech cop replied. My sister is out there somewhere, I had to know she's safe, John yelled. Do you think we are safe enough for you to worry about your sister? I have a family out there, the tech cop replied. A report of some of them turning into monsters came in, the tech cop said. Monsters, John repeated. Yes, purple hulking monsters. Those ones are hard to kill. There's no doubt about it, it's the work of that demon, John deduced.
We can't stay holed up in this building forever. We have to move. How much ammo you got left, Hiroshima? John inquired.
Not enough, he replied. Alright, we'll improvise. John was about to explain his plan when he felt a familiar feeling, drowsiness and nauseousness. He was the only one left standing while the rest were left unconscious on the ground. He saw the whole area was cleared of all the criminal members and Gaia was standing in the center, her eyes glowing green. It's a good thing this barrier was erected here. I can finally stretch after all this time without worrying about Olympus. Gaia noted, her hair levitating as if it had a mind of its own. Gaia, John had never felt so relieved in his life. Are you alright, John? She asked, covering him in a green aura, healing his wounds. Yeah, I'm fine. What about, Kuo Academy is under attack? John's eyes widened. Biju. They'll be fine. A devil, an angel, and Naruto are in there. John breathed a sigh of relief and all of a sudden, the precinct went silent. All that remained was John and Gaia. Footsteps could be heard as Soji and Agatha walked towards them. It's surprising how you were able to breach this barrier instantly while a devil and an angel working together had a hard time scratching its surface, Soji commented with Agatha standing beside him. Sirzek's Gremory's knight narrowed his eyes at John, wondering why he was still standing. Don't try to erase his memories. He knows about us. Gaia told Soji, placing emphasis on the us. We've cleared the precinct, all that remains is Kuo Academy, he said. What about them? John asked, referring to his fellow law enforcers. They will wake up tomorrow with no memory of what transpired, Agatha said. It's fine by me. I hope they don't remember this nightmare, John said, staring at his fellow law enforcers lying on the ground unconscious. Let's go to Kuo Academy, he stated, making his way outside the precinct. Whoa, us? You're human. You don't have any powers. Agatha flared her arms around, trying to keep her father's creation safe. Who said I don't? John replied, and a sword materialized from inside his trinket and fell to the ground. You found it, Gaia replied. I've always had it. I just hope I never have to use it, John replied. John knew about the sword since he was but a boy, but a message left by his parents in the gem said to never use the sword unless absolutely necessary. The consequences of using the sword was described with great detail inside the message. They all teleported outside the barrier and a dark purple storm was brewing above Kuo Academy. We have to go, now, Gaia warned. Scene change. India, somewhere in Mumbai. The time of the prophecy is near, I can feel it, Ashirik said out loud. If you think we are just going to let that happen, then you are wrong. Beowulf punched the possessed human in the face, taking care not to kill the human it possessed by reducing his strength when punching. Look at you, killing me in this form is very easy for you devils, yet you hold back because of a measly human. You're different from your ancestors, those greedy brutes. They have been fighting and chasing after the demon, never losing sight of it. Serafal was in deep thought on how to handle the situation. Killing the human will do no damage to the demon, And even then, he'll have a chance to escape sealing. Only if they can be. Serafal trailed off when she finally thought of a solution. Beowulf, come here. Beowulf stopped his assault and retreated. The devil landed beside Serafal and listened to her plan. The demon raised an eyebrow at both devils, pondering on what they were planning. There is nothing you can do, devils, just kill me. I don't like this plan, but I'm in for it, Beowulf frowned. Let's go, Serafal yelled, shooting an ice shard shaped like a thin arrowhead at the human Ashirik currently possessed. It is useless. Ashirik caught the ice shard with mid-difficulty, skidding to a halt. Aura! Beowulf yelled, shattering the ice shard, thus creating a smokescreen. He went behind the demon, holding it in place as Serafal covered the distance in the blink of an eye and placed a hand on the demon. What are you doing, greedy creature? He asked with narrowed eyes. Getting you out of here, Serafal replied before she teleported all three of them out of there. Scene change. Kuo Academy. The cloud of dust has settled by now and Naruto stood in front of a fat man. He recognized the demon instantly. I compliment you, human. Your proficiency in using the EMRGY of the Yukais is highly commendable. You made a mistake coming to my school and putting my students in danger, Naruto replied. No, human. My coming here is no mistake. It is actually far from it, in fact. I am here for a person, a girl, and I will not stop until I have her. Let me see you try. Naruto adopted a taijutsu stance. I wouldn't be so hasty if I were you, hombre. Quavo, the boss, just joined the chat and he's not alone. He's with the Klepto 6. The kleptomaniacs had weird scribblings on their faces. They didn't even look human anymore as half of their faces were grotesque and each had a different set of wings and tails. Ye think ye can take us all alone, Blondie? Quavo asked, brandishing his twin guns. Let me let you in on a little something, hombre. Quavo said, lowering his stance, crossing his hands over his face. I'm currently the weakest in this group. He finished, whipping his head sideways, trying to ignore the pain caused by said action. A purple and blue aura seeped out of his body and he let out a maniacal laugh. Witness what you didn't back them, hombre balance break. A crescent wave of purple and blue energy traveled through the school and Naruto had to pull up an earth wall to defend himself. The ground floors of all the buildings were damaged badly. I have been born anew with so much power like never before, Blondie. Quavo now had twin rocket launchers mounted on his shoulders, and his twin guns turned to SMGs. I could swear he was human a moment ago, but now he's just like them. A demon. Naruto mulled. This is going to be harder than I thought. I might have to really stretch my powers just to keep up with them. Naruto looked behind him and was glad to see that the school was still standing but the students were all at the windows facing the fight, staring at the commotion. Surely they've seen enough, so seeing their teacher breathe kick-ass would give them hope. Raise the school as you like but bring Martha Hunter to me alive. Yuri, who was gripping the windowsill hard, was staring at the demon with great confusion marring her face as she spared a sideway glance at Martha. She was devastated to say the least. What did those guys want with her and why is Naruto the only one out there?
I knew it, they came for me. I put everyone in danger. Martha's hands fell limp by her sides. She turned around and walked away getting the students' attention.
Where are you going? Yuri asked her. To go put an end to everything, Martha replied with a voice full of conviction. Unlike her normal angelic, sweet voice, this one had an edge to it. Yuri had a lot of questions about Naruto and Martha, but the greatest question she had was about the fat man in the middle. That man was undoubtedly the old drunkard she hated the most, her dad. Leave the blonde one to me. We have unfinished business, Ashirik ordered. The kleptomaniacs and Quavo all rushed forward, intent on Kazuyasabe, and one could see the crazed gleam and the bloodlust present in their eyes. Naruto prepared himself to intercept them, sliding into the academy stance when his body suddenly moved on its own. He bent backwards, missing a roundhouse kick whose force was powerful enough to crack the surface of the school ground. The same kick halted instantly above Naruto. His eyes widened to the size of dinner plates when Ashirik rose the leg a bit and delivered a brutal axe kick to his chest. All the students saw was the other creatures running towards them and, all of a sudden, a cloud of dust kicked up at where Naruto was. Hey, I think they are coming for us. Run, some students yelled.
Yuri and Martha were nowhere to be found as the students of Kuo ran for their lives.
Naruto coughed up a mouthful of blood. He didn't even see the demon coming, and the only reason he was able to guard his chest with his forearms was the fraction of a second it took to raise its legs a bit before impact. You will pay for the humiliation you caused me, human, Ashirik said, stretching his palms wide at Naruto. A familiar magic circle, only this time smaller, hovered on Ashirok's outstretched palms. Sand rose from the ground to Naruto's aid but it would not make it to him in time. Dark Eraser. Doden Doryuheki. A massive wall of earth covered the school from the blast radius. Naruto stood on the earth wall, wiping a trail of blood off his cheeks. Akuzo. Shikaku, son, Naruto clapped his hands together and a wave of sand and lava erupted from the ground, filling the entire schoolyard. The demon group took to the sky while a Shirik levitated in the air staring hard at Naruto. I have never seen anything like this before. Not even the yokais could do this with chakra, sand, lava and earth. You're open, Blondie, one of the klepto, with a dragon-like appearance yelled and breathed out a huge stream of fire at Naruto. The blonde spared a sideway glance at the incoming flames and tapped his feet on the wall. Another pillar of thick earth rose to his defense, creating a dome, completely hiding Naruto in it. Naruto used the wall as a screen to blindside the dragon-like demon while it was still spewing flames from its mouth. He then delivered a full-powered Sage Chakra-enhanced kick to the neck of the possessed human. URK. The dragon demon plummeted below, erupting a wave of sand and lava on impact. TCH, this guy is strong alright. Quavo thought. Naruto stood between them and the school, and even though he was outnumbered, he still kept them at bay. The dragon-like klepto rose from the mix of sand and lava unhurt. It transformed into a full bipedal dragon-like demon. His fellow kleptos did the same, with each transforming into something unique. They are just mindless beasts at this point. Naruto thought before a penguin-like demon breathed out a huge stream of whitish-blue mist that froze everything it came in contact with. Naruto felt his danger sense enter into overdrive again and, suddenly, a Shirik was standing behind him. His hands touching his back. A purple magic circle was imprinted onto Naruto's back. His eyes widened when he saw he couldn't move anymore. Do you fear me, human? Are you even human? A Shirik asked, now standing in front of Naruto. The blonde went down onto his knees and a Shirik placed a claw on his forehead. What are you? A Shirik asked before a purple mist leaked from his claws and entered Naruto's head. The blonde ninja wanted to grip his head, wanted to scream, but couldn't. It hurt like hell but his body just would not move. The other kleptos, seeing Naruto was immobile, ran towards the school building, intent on killing all the students. Move. Naruto ordered his body. Move. His pupils shifted sideways. Move. He yelled mentally. A Shirik removed his hand from Naruto's head all of a sudden and caught a huge light spear. The school building vanished, swallowed whole by a blue magic circle. You foiled my plans again. A Shirik retreated and glared at Dulio. Ma, you did well, human-san. Dulio complimented Naruto, placing a hand over his shoulder. Grafia appeared behind the shinobi's back and froze the magic circle binding him. Naruto flexed his muscles and broke the frozen magic circle. If I am correct, he's currently using 3/4 of his full power. Grafia informed, never removing her eyes from the demon. We have to be extremely careful. We don't know what he's capable of. Naruto stood up, finally understanding the situation. No wonder the demon was so powerful. Who killed 2 of his clones and made him more powerful? He demanded. Dulio had a sweat drop behind his head while Grafia looked like she was constipated. Naruto sighed when he realized their silence was their answer. I guess we all messed up. Thanks for teleporting the kids out of here. A green and purple magic circle appeared on the wall. Ashiroku's eyes widened when he saw Gaia. Did that old hag procreate a daughter? The woman looked a lot like Gaia but her magic energy was too weak to be Gaia, and the fake Gaia was doting over Uzumaki. I'm fine, Gaia. Good see you alive, John. Naruto, where's Martha? John asked. She should be out. Naruto stopped midway, snapping his head south. No way, Brown and Martha are in the school. Hey, Martha. Wait up. Martha looked behind and saw the resident cold bitch everyone talked about was behind her. Why is my father after you? That isn't your father. What do you mean? He's being possessed by an ancient demon that wants me. What? You saw what happened there. I'm bound to put everyone in trouble wherever I go. I'm tired of being powerless. I am going to set everything right. What do you intend to do? Martha opened the science lab door and made a beeline for a strong chemical. Don't tell me you are going to. Seraphol, Beowulf and the last clone of a Shirik appeared inside the orc. She's near. A Shirik thought and stabbed the body he possessed. His purple mist form leaked from it and went after Martha. Seraphol and Beowulf gave chase. A Shirik looked beyond Naruto and smirked when he felt his last clone. Naruto? John exclaimed. Martha's in the science lab. John and Gaia's eyes widened to epic portions. Martha opened the door of the science lab. The school's resident cold bitch behind her. A test tube in hand filled with green liquid, only to come across Ashiroku's mist form. I finally found you, my little bride. Ashirik hissed and grabbed Martha by the neck. His form glowed faintly as he chuckled. Just by being in close proximity with you, I can already feel my power rising. Ashirik lifted her off the ground and stared into her eyes which were bleeding into a purple color. You look just like her, like Annie, my first love. The test tube fell from her hand as she tried to free herself from the chokehold in vain. She was losing consciousness. Something else was trying to take over. A high amount of magic energy burst out of her body as she screamed in agony. Serafal and Beowulf appeared a few feet away from the demon and it turned around and used Martha and Brown as hostages. Half his body was already seeping into Martha. Serafal gritted her teeth. This was what she was afraid of. Martha's hands fell limp by her sides. As she was on the verge of losing consciousness, she remembered an important thing about her trinket. If you ever find yourself in trouble, just throw this to the ground and I'll be there in a flash. She remembered Naruto's words that day when he tinkered with her trinket. Martha grabbed her trinket and yanked it off. You just made this a lot easier, he informed when she yanked her trinket off her neck. Why yeah, I did. She replied and threw the trinket to the ground. Martha lost consciousness after she threw the trinket and the bonding was almost complete. Just a little more, the demon thought. Ashiroke's eyes widened, and so did the devil's eyes, when Naruto appeared in a flash, a giant Rasengan spinning F. He gripped the demon by the face and dragged its body out of Martha. Not again. Senpo. Raiden. Odama Rasengan. Naruto slammed the lightning-powered jutsu into Ashiroke's core, killing it instantly.